The live scene at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega, Alabama, ready to host the 6th race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, and the race that everyone calls the wild card, the key to determining who'll be in position to contend for the title over the final month of the season. This is a race where, with the pack drafting and the big wrecks that can tend to happen, a driver's either going to gain or lose a chunk of ground on the championship leader, one or the other.
Yeah, you know what a difficult day this can be. It's a long, long 500 miles, and as every driver prepares for each race, you have that checklist of things that you absolutely want to have, your gloves, your helmet, have all of that there. This one, there's a few things added. You want to make sure that you've got your lucky socks, your lucky underwear, four-leaf clover, whatever it is, it's good luck to you. You're going to need that today, because no matter how good you may be, you might think that you're in a position to make a run at winning this race. Things like this are going to happen, and especially as we get towards the end of these races, the pushing becomes a little more intense, the blocking becomes a little more intense, and things like this can happen at any time.
Yeah, we can see these races go fairly calm. We see them still 3, 4, 5 wide at times, but the drivers aren't really, the intensity level hasn't come up. And by the end of the race, if all the cars are still running, it's still the big one can happen. Coming off the last turn, I mean, it can get so bad. It doesn't matter where you are on the white flag lap. It has nothing to do with your finishing positions. You can see, I mean, things can change so fast between, actually, even on the front straightaway.
Now, that's how Talladega plays where the championship picture is concerned. As for the race, this is an event that has been very nice to first-time winners and always seems to give us what I'll call the Talladega surprise.
Yeah, this is really a place where anybody can win. Any race team can take a car here and win. It's a big equalizer with this restrictor plate. David Reagan did such a great job in May to win this race, beating the giant teams. I mean, this was a very big accomplishment, but it can happen, and it can happen here today. I've seen it many times.
Yeah, you know, there are drivers in the chase that know that if they can win this race, they can go forward in the point standings. There's others, though, that haven't won this year that know this is their great opportunity. They want to take advantage of that. Could very well happen again.
When will the big wreck happen? How many will there be? There were 2 of them in the May race here. How will the championship standings look at the end of the day, and who'll be the Talladega surprise from this 500 miles? All questions we begin to get the answers to right now.
And now, the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome your Grand Marshal, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Camping World and Good Sam Enterprises, and star of CNBC prime hit reality series The Prophet, Marcus Lemonis.
Dega Nation, get on your feet and let's show America and ESPN what racing in Alabama is all about. Danica and gentlemen, start your engine!
Well, people cheering there. Step 4 and
With energy and enthusiasm and ready for a wild 500 miles at the world's fastest speedway. Our ESPN in-race reporter on the day is the championship leader starting this race. Matt Kenseth is the defending winner of this event. He was just ahead of Tony Stewart in the final corner of the race last year when that huge 25-car wreck broke out, and Kenseth scored the victory. He's hoping for another win today under much calmer circumstances. We talk to him next. A lot of positions and a lot of championship points changed hands in that last corner crash at Talladega a year ago. And as we get set to start today's 500-miler, I'll look at some of the top drivers in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup who've had a lot of success at this racetrack, including our ESPN in-race reporter, Matt Kenseth, who won this race a year ago. Matt getting ready to roll off the pit lane along with the other drivers from his starting position in the number 20 car back in 12.
Hey, Matt, Dale Chair at the ESPN. Good to talk with us right now?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Matt, thanks again for talking with us. Our first question comes from our mailbag, and Haley from Mobile, Alabama asks, how much pressure is on you to avoid the big one and escape this weekend with the points lead over Jimmy Johnson?
Well, I mean, you always want to be leading. It's basically virtually a draw right now. So I'm hoping we have some good speed in this Home Depot Toyota, and we can get it up front somewhere and stay out of trouble if there is any.
Hey, Matt, you've been awfully good at this racetrack. You have a win. You know, I'm sure that you've heard all the stats. 6 out of the last 7 races here have had a last lap pass for the win. You were leading here earlier this year on a green-white checker restart. Didn't get that victory. Has that brought a new perspective for you as to how and where you may want to be at the end of this race today?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I've watched that over a few times. You know, last year too, I think all the speedway races we were in ended in a green-white checkered. It's, you know, it's tough as the leader, but I'd still rather be the leader and you know, have control and try to watch her run the best you can and try to make the right move at least. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Hopefully we're in that spot. Hopefully we're in that position to have a shot at a win.
All right, Matt, we appreciate you talking with us. You have a fun and safe day out there. We'll hope to talk to you later on. And he's going to talk to your crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Jason, Andy Petrie up here in the booth. You have us?
I got you, Andy.
Jason, we've been talking about the last 4 or 5 weeks just how important these decisions have been on top of the pit box and getting your driver the finish that he needs to try to win this championship. But today is a little different. We talked about racing here at Talladega. How is your job a little different today?
Well, at Talladega, you know, most tracks we go to, you know, you do the best you can all day to keep the balance on the car, keep the car handling well, keep the freshest tires you can on it. Here, you know, at Talladega, I think our number one focus is going to be just keeping good track position. That's going to affect the handling of our Camry the most. So the number one goal today for the 20 Home Depot team is going to be minimizing time on pit road so that we can maintain track position.
All right, Jason, we appreciate you talking to us. Good luck today.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
And as the cars roll around on the first of their 3 parade and pace laps before the green flag, we check out our high-definition onboard cameras riding today with Danica Patrick, our GoDaddy on board.
Do your normal deal all day long with your saving fuel under cautions and things, and if it gets down, do it.
Tap it out.
Clint Boyer has our 5-hour energy on board. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the Nationwide Insurance camera. And Kyle Busch with our Toyota on board. You heard from Matt Kenseth, the Fresh from Florida on board. And Jeff Gordon has our Sprint on board.
Eddie, I spoke to Harvey. He's going to be back there, so we'll kind of see where he's at. Probably hang around him.
With a strategy developing early here for Jeff. Speaking of Kevin Harvick, he's got our Jimmy Johns on board. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. has the Mountain Dew on board today. NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy has enhanced race coverage from Talladega this afternoon with 10 HD live race views, live chat, and live leaderboard. NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. Plenty of time before the green flag as they work through these parade and pace laps at 55 miles an hour. They'll be hitting 200 in a minute. We'll be back for it. Who's going to be bad company in the draft at Talladega today? Some do this better than others.
Do that for sure. Yeah, but you don't know that sometimes until you're in the middle of it.
Ready to race at the world's fastest speedway, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Talladega, presented today by 5-Hour Energy. Let's focus on some of the top stories in today's race before the one-to-go signal to pit road and Vince Welch.
Well, Alan, restrictor plate racing has been feast or famine for Jimmy Johnson the last couple of years. Last season, his average plate finish was 32nd. This season, it's 2.3. Now, we know the 48 team is good, but here at Talladega, it's more about being lucky. Johnson says his car is fast, but he knows it's going to come down to being in the right place or the wrong place that's going to greatly affect his chase chances. Dave Burns?
If Jeff Gordon wins today, it might be because he helped him clean the track up. On Jeff's ride around on a truck after he was introduced today, he spotted some puddling water near the entrance to pit road. He had his spotter, Eddie DeHaan, go talk to NASCAR. They took some jet dryers over there to blow off the area. It's a little before they would normally dive down to pit road, but it could be used, and Jeff may have just saved himself and all the other drivers a big hassle here at Talladega. Jamie?
Talladega during the chase. For most drivers, it's seen as a survival race, as kind of a crapshoot, but not the 29 of Kevin Harvick. This team, they've been fired up all week long. They see today as an opportunity to win and leave here as the point leaders. Now, he's starting way back in 33rd in a brand new race car, but the team tells me the plan is stay back there as long as possible. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Jamie, everybody in sports loves a good underdog story. So, folks, how about this? What if the smallest team with the smallest budget in the chase were to win today at NASCAR's biggest track? And what if that team had only won one race since it was formed? And what if the driver in that team had never won a Sprint Cup race at a restrictor plate track? Folks, that makes the 78 car and Kurt Busch a legitimate underdog today. But Alan Bestwick here at Talladega, it could happen.
Doc Kurt's one of those guys who has the knack for the drafting. And and he could put that 78 car in victory lane. Looking down on Kurt and the rest of the field from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. So what to expect over 500 miles here at Talladega? Well, the drafting, the restricted engine package, the big pack racing creates a lot of lead changes, even with the switch from the Gen 5 car of tomorrow to the Generation 6 race car. The activity level hasn't fallen off up front.
No, it hasn't. And those are the lead changes are just measured at the start-finish line of each lap. There's a lot that takes place around this 2.66 track. A lot of changing times that the actual leader of the previous lap may get back there again before they come back.
And that's thrilling action for us to watch. But you used the phrase as we got ready to come on the air today about what a gut-wrenching 500 miles this will be behind the wheel.
It really is. I can't express enough just how difficult this is, what the drivers go through. You're in there, and even though you may have a spotter, it's up to you to calculate everything that's going on around you. And it is very nerve-wracking, and we'll see these drivers try to get themselves in a position to win.
It's just as nerve-wracking at the top of the pit box. I can guarantee you that, because you think you don't have much control over what happens. We got no control, and it is very, very nerve-wracking.
The biggest track on the circuit, 2 2/3 miles around, 188 laps for 500 miles. Remember the start-finish line, not in the center of the tri-oval. Past that, past the exit of the pit road, that makes a difference in the outcome at the end of the day as well. We're ready to go racing at Talladega. Lined up according to your speeds from practice on Friday after qualifying Saturday was rained out. That's Jeff Burton, 31, to the outside, heading that column.
Point there, Matt Kenseth in that middle lane. He was pretty aggressive to try to push that lane forward.
That's been Matt's style, to get himself situated up front. And I think Matt Kenseth understands the draft as well as anyone that's racing out here today. He gets as much out of his cars at this type of racetrack. I see him do things that remind me a lot of when I used to race against and watch Dale Earnhardt. Matt's that good at these places.
Jeff Burton at the line that lap. And of course, Dale Earnhardt, the legend, the fable was he could see the air. Well, don't know that he could see the air, but he sure could feel it moving around those race cars in the draft.
Yeah, that's the thing. That you have to have that feel, and not every driver has that.
Got trouble in turn one.
Caution's going to be out. Caution's out.
Tony Raines, engine, smoke, and caution. Sorry to interrupt there, DJ.
No, that's the important thing.
I heard something from Jason Radcliffe in that little in-race reporter exchange that they were going to try to be up front, and they wanted to minimize time on pit road. They want to try to spend as much time at the head of this pack as they can. That's not the same strategy I've heard a lot of these other chasers employing today.
Yeah, and exactly. And here for the first race, some of them found out with this new Gen 6 car, they were kind of comparing it to what they used to do here, and they found themselves losing the draft, really. But now they've figured out better ways and where they have to be, so they're going to go back, but maybe not as far back as what they used to with the older cars. But they still going to. There's a lot more that want to employ that strategy than what I originally thought when we were talking about coming here a few weeks ago.
Now Jeff Gordon is back in 33rd, and you can't get any closer to the back than Kevin Harvick is right now. He's 42nd, and Tony Raines is pulling into the garage.
I talked to Gil Martin this morning, and he said that if you don't have a car that is capable of going to the front from the back in 70 laps, then you probably don't have a car that can stay up front. So he says they're just going to kind of hang out in the back. They're not going to try to make a charge until it gets to that last fourth of the race.
They're going to get racy up front, aren't they? Yeah, they're 3 wide the whole way.
Kevin commenting on the view from the driver's seat in the early going, and right now from the last spot on the grid.
Yeah, and it's not. They're just giving themselves what they feel like is the best opportunity. A lot of people don't like to employ this strategy, and Kevin Harvick will be up there in that mix. But early on, when you think about going 3 and 4 wide right here, it only takes a slight mistake by someone, and it wipes out your entire day or any opportunity that you may have to have a good day.
And Casey Kane back there with Kevin Harvick, by the way, looking early on like perhaps he's on the drop back strategy also.
I was talking to Gil. He said it's kind of hard to keep Kevin on that strategy. The closer it gets towards the middle to the 3/4 mark, he's wanting to go race. It's kind of hard. He said it's hard to keep him held back where he wants him to be.
And there's no advantage to, if you wait around all day and then you try to go too early, you find yourself or try to push the issue too much, then you basically should have employed the other strategy throughout the day. You need to be going forward at the end of this race, and that might not necessarily get you the win, but in a championship battle, it's going to pick you up a lot of spots towards the end.
Dale Jr. in the opening lap made an outside run with Greg Biffle to try and get to the front. That didn't work. They slipped back, and now, Dave, they're on pit road.
Just a little bit of an adjustment and a top off on the fuel. A lot of guys coming down to top off on fuel, just make sure they can make it to the next run. Jamie?
Definitely hearing a lot of cars topping off as you see the 18 there. The 29 expected to come in as well, and Clint Boyer's on pit road with an adjustment.
So a caution just a couple laps in, and a lot of oil dry being put down in turns 1 and 2 of the Talladega Superspeedway. It's going to take a minute to clean up. While we are under caution early at the world's fastest speedway, we remind you that next Sunday the chase moves. Talk about a contrast from the 2 2/3 mile Talladega track to the half-mile Martinsville Speedway. If Talladega is all about drafting and the art of the air, Martinsville's a bare-knuckle brawl with fenders. And it's next Sunday, starting at 1 Eastern on ESPN. Should be a fascinating one next weekend. And as you see the cleanup continuing from the large amount of oil dry that was put down on the racetrack after Tony Raines had the problem in turn 1, and it went all the way down the backstretch, around turns 3 and 4, and onto the pit road into the garage area. Quickly being cleaned up by the safety workers. We remind you to visit every2minutes.com to get information on how to win an Xbox One. Auctions begin November 5th. Start banking codes now. Kyle Busch just on pit road for a top off of the fuel. He's back in 35th position. And Kyle racing today 24 hours after a vicious wreck at the finish of yesterday's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race here in Talladega. Kyle in the 51 outside that one that just got hit, and it got ugly. One of many drivers involved in this nasty crash at the finish.
Yeah, he actually came across there and went down and hit the inside pit wall at still a high rate of speed.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of the accident.
Across there, and you can see hitting the inside, pretty much knocked the breath out of him.
And so Kyle having to recover from that to race here at Talladega today, Jamie.
Yes, and he hit where there was no safer barrier. So he said the truck was just so hot he had to get out and catch his breath. But I talked to his wife right before the race, and she said Kyle was sore, but this morning he woke up and he was ready to do it for 500 miles. She said, I'm not ready, but he was definitely ready.
Yeah. Fortunately, everyone in that accident basically okay. Understand that Justin Lofton suffered a fractured thumb in that, and certainly wish him a speedy recovery from there.
Yeah, and this is not a physically demanding race. It's a long race, but it's more mentally demanding than physically.
So Kyle and Dale Jr. and Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick and Michael Waltrip all at the back of the pack. Casey Kane. All of those drivers choosing to top off the fuel and go toward the back of the field here. Jeff Gordon back there. If I mentioned Jeff, I think I did. There he is. And a lot lot of curiosity about with this Generation 6 race car of how risky it is to risk losing the draft at the back of the line.
As long as there's enough of them back there, they're not going to do that. These are fast race cars, so they're going to be okay. They can give themselves some room and be able to draft back and catch this pack because they're going to be 3 wide up here. Yes.
Still see the residual speedy drive being blown up by the leader. It looks like he's smoking, but he's not.
Yeah, a lot of racetracks, or most racetracks, that would concern you if you were there in the pack. Here, you're not going, I mean, you're going fast. These cars can go much faster, and there's a ton of grip out there. 4 wide already right there.
Yeah, as long as they're doing that, the guys that are hanging out in the back are basically running in a vacuum. They've got a lot of cars pushing there in front of them.
Problem is that 4 wide is halfway through the pack, so they're not as far behind the potential wreck as they might like to be. Jeff Burton to the lead. And Matt Kenseth through to second and maybe going to go after the top spot.
Tony Green's blow up a while ago, we were talking about being able to not necessarily see there like Dale Earnhardt. He was the master at this, but just a driver's feel for this. And Matt Kenseth has that feel of knowing when he has that little bit of extra horsepower, if you will, by getting that air and using it to his advantage.
The other thing he's really good at is leading the draft at these restrictor plate races. And I think that's what they have in mind by the conversations I've heard, that they want to try to get max points. To do that, they need to lead the most laps. And I think Matt is one of those guys that can do that here. He can stay out in front because he knows how to use that air.
The only reason that he missed the big wreck last fall was because he was the man leading the race.
Safest place to be. And at a race where other people are counting on maybe you getting swept up in some trouble to gain a little ground in the championship, you get a max points day, that's a dagger.
Yeah, and if you're up there leading laps and everything, then that's adding a little bit of pressure to what these other guys have to do. They talk about pressure everywhere, and there always is. See Matt now getting a little bit of a push from Brad Keselowski, see if he can take the lead. This is what he does really well.
He really wants this lead because nobody's letting more laps on restrictor plate racetracks this year than Matt. He wants to try to get out front and see if he can use that skill to maintain the lead.
Brad can't decide if he wants to help him or hang him out there.
Now there's your answer.
Kurt Busch up behind Kenseth in that outside draft. And here they come. Car, 4th back outside lane. That's Austin Dillon, the NASCAR Nationwide Series championship leader, subbing for Tony Stewart in this one.
So having a different crew chief on the box there today with the 14 car. Greg Zipadelli is there. Steve Addington went back home as a child to be born and actually got a little assist from Kevin Harvick, I've been told on that. Kevin Harvick was good enough to let him use his plane and get him back so he could be there to be part of it.
Matt Kenseth led the last lap. Looks like he's cleared now. The 31 car, Jeff Burton.
You know, when you're good at this and other people understand that, it's amazing how much better you become because you get a lot of help. And I used to say that's why Dale Earnhardt, he knew how to get there and people knew that he knew how to get there. So it wasn't hard for him to get a partner to get on his bumper ready to go.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you didn't want to do with Dale Sr. though, is make a deal with him. He wouldn't keep it. He was out there for one person.
Absolutely.
Outside lane, white and red 36 car. J.J. Yaley talked about the equalizer of the draft. Tom Baldwin Racing, one of the underdog teams. Yaley up in 6th place.
Yeah, we've seen Tom Baldwin's teams run well here with Dave Blaney and others in the past. Expect them to be right there. They know this is their chance to do something that's great for their team that would help them with sponsorship and help grow this team going forward.
And Joey Logano with an outside run, 22 car.
He's in no man's land there. Now you can see he's going to utilize Austin Dillon coming up through there. It's really a bad feeling when you're sitting there with nobody on your bumper.
It's kind of what makes this different than a normal oval track race, right? Then you're good with nobody on your back bumper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but here you're wanting that. Know that you have to have that. Get yourself in that position. And unlike the other car where we saw a lot of the tandem drafting and things, with these, you can't back up there really because you can't do that for very long. So if you back up, the others are going to go past you because they're wide open. So it's more like the old drafting effects that we had.
Well, that's about 25 of them in the lead draft. And the championship leader, Matt Kenseth, is out in front of Talladega for now, but it's very early in the going. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the world's fastest speedway, Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Very early on in today's 500-miler, our telecast presented by 5-Hour Energy. Greg Biffle now out in front. And we invite you to enter online at ChevyOutdoors.com for a chance to win an all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Degree banking, 5 stories tall.
It really makes it difficult when you're in those corners like that to see out of the car as much. You have just a small spot in your windshield, and with everything going on around you, 3 and 4 wide at times, just another one of the challenges.
So Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, basically in a dead heat for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship starting the race. We saw Matt Kenseth go up in lead laps. Jimmy Johnson started to make a move after that last restart, but got bottled in the middle lane of a 3 wide, and for quite some time, there was no place he could go. And I would imagine that wasn't very comfortable for him.
Yeah, it's probably the most uncomfortable position. That's what you don't want to get yourself into when you're battling for a championship. And as much as anything, it's about a lot of the people that he's around. Now, all of these are good race drivers, but obviously there are a lot that Jimmy's used to racing around. At a race like this, you get other players. You had Cole Witt up there. You had J.J. Yeley. People that are looking to make their mark, to have that opportunity, and you're not exactly sure racing around them what's going to happen. So it's a very uncomfortable position.
Joey Logano leading that outside lane up to contend for the lead. Logano leading the last lap in the 22 car by 22 thousandths of a second. Fitz?
You know, a long chat with the Jimmy Johnson spotter Earl Barban earlier today, and he said sometimes it's a feeling of helplessness when you're up there and you know your driver's in the middle of something he can't get out of. We heard a lot of in and out from Earl communicating to Jimmy. In and out, meaning you've got somebody on the inside, somebody on the outside, and you could hear it in his voice that he didn't like the position Jimmy was in. Fortunately, it's not out anymore. Jimmy just too wide currently.
Yeah, most of these racetracks, you can race your way out of these kind of situations. You can use your talent, like Jimmy Johnson can use his talent at Charlotte to separate himself. You can't do that here. It's a really helpless feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I never did like that middle situation, unless that was just a dominant line that was happened to be moving. But you don't give yourself an out by being in that middle too many times. And I know Jimmy, that lane was moving, he got trapped there. But that's a situation that if something happens in front of you, you're basically going to have to hit someone to look at getting out of that. Never like to get myself in that. Sometimes you can't help it there.
Greg Biffle leading that inside lane, trying to get the lead from Joey Logano, and talking with us earlier about being stuck in the middle.
To be in the middle of the pack, cars on all sides of you, basically moving parking lot at 200 miles an hour, the adrenaline, the heart rate, the feeling is I cannot explain it. I can't explain what it's like to be in that situation. And it's not like you're in that situation for 10 seconds. You're in that situation for sometimes 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm grinning, listening and watching that. You know, so many times we try to explain maybe what a driver's going through. But this is a situation that as a driver, you really can't explain what the feeling's like. We have no analogy that I could give you with anything that you've really done in your life, unless you've been in this, that it would help you understand. I can just assure you that you think about the most intense thing that you've ever done and ramp it up about 1,000 times, and that's what you sit in. You can hear Greg talk about being in those positions sometimes for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, I see you smiling now. I bet you weren't smiling when you were in that position.
No.
He's having flashbacks here for a second. So I talked about the risk of losing the draft. You saw the pack. You saw that second group of single-file cars, the drop-back guys. Casey Kane's lost contact.
Yeah, that's not good there. We talked about how these others, if you stay with the group and have some fast cars there, as you can see these guys hanging back, but they're there together. Casey Kane got himself in a position. I don't know what created it, but he's lost a draft, and he'll be in a bad situation unless he gets the caution to help him.
Doc Punch reporting up from pit road off the air for us that Casey said nothing on the radio. So, no idea. War Eagle, Auburn colors being carried by Jamie McMurray in the one, leading that 3-wide lane on the top. Jamie, one of those guys that just has the feel and the knack for the drafting game.
Yep. Got a lot to live up to with those Auburn colors after yesterday's big win down at Texas A&M.
Yeah. And I realize that by saying War Eagle at this particular part of the country, there are some who will be glad to cheer me and some that I might have to duck on my way out of the booth here.
It's a good thing we're up high right now, right?
Yeah. Alabama with an impressive win last night also. So Greg Biffle leading. Matt Kenseth is second. And then that from third. At Talladega, the big shot right now is Matt Kenseth, championship leader, leading the race. But the pack is not far behind. About to put a lap on Joe Nemechek in the 87. There it is. The lead few, the big pack.
Closing in, half back.
Then a scattering of cars who've all decided that the activity in that pack was a little too hairy for them this early on in the race.
Situation is a spotter on the roof that's helping these drivers negotiate these 3-wide, 4-wide situations they find themselves in.
Yeah, they're great to have, and most of them do a great job. Yep, I would always find you had to be I was very guarded as to what he was telling me because they're a long way away from the action. You're running 200 miles per hour. A lot of them do a terrific job, but it's ultimately your decisions to make inside the race car. And but a lot of them do help and give good information.
See from that shot there, Austin Dillon's spotter, Bob Jeffries. That was your spotter. That was a guy you didn't trust?
No, I trusted Bob, and that's what I said. But you're still, even in having the very best in Bob Jeffries, you're guarded.
He's looking through binoculars to try and see if you're clear of a race car at 200 miles an hour by a couple inches. Dave?
Had the binocular discussion with Dale Earnhardt Jr. spotter TJ Majors this morning. He goes, hey, you want to see him? I said, yeah. He showed me the binoculars because he said, I bring my wide-angle binoculars to this race. We looked on the front of it, and it said 900-foot field of vision. So there's a lot going on out there that he can see just by looking through the binoculars, but he brings the wide-angle ones for this race.
Well, if he's watching that 88 car now, he's watching Dale Jr. move up. Lap 26, he was 17th. Lap 31, he's now 7th. That knot was 4 wide off turn 2. Greg Biffle on that inside lane, blue and white 16 car, was leading and contending for the lead in this race. And now Greg's back in 14th and has actually given up a couple more in this last lap around.
that different drivers will look at throughout the day. It didn't look like he was going to maybe hang at the back for a while. But as things kind of settled down and started to get 2x2 more than the 3 and 4 wide racing all the time, then Junior saw an opportunity to take his fast car and move forward, get by this. What you're looking for is just a comfort zone, because 500 miles of racing 2 and 3 wide and challenging for a position on every lap wears you out mentally, and you're going to have a hard time getting to the end of the race and doing the things that you need to do.
This is the group up front.
This is also a good opportunity. You always want to know what your car is capable of doing, so that when it gets to the end of the race, where do I need to be? Where do I need to position myself? Can I pass 5 cars in 2 laps? Can I be in 10th spot with the right person helping me and get there in a green-white checkered situation? That's what you want to know. A great opportunity to find that out right now.
Yeah, and practice doesn't do that for you. You don't have this kind of group. You don't have the dynamics of the whole draft to work with. And that's why these drivers will spend a lot of time experimenting to see where they need to be on that last lap.
Matt Kenseth leading, Joey Logano second.
It looks like everyone's good. Just hang in here right now. Let me know when it starts to get dicey back there. Brad said he's good hanging or want to go. I think right now is a good place because the first 6 of us are pulling away from everybody dicing around there.
Yeah, I was wondering why you saw so many cars in a single file line. I think they were looking at this as an opportunity to maybe not have to run 2 and 3 wide. They're just going to kind of cooperate with each other. Like you said, it's a good place. They think they can maybe get to the lead, but right now there's no upside for them.
Yeah, there's always that time of the race where the driver leading the race decides, okay, we've run around the bottom most of the time, but we can go up here and run everybody around, and I won't have to deal with all those people. And they'll let him know if somebody should get hooked up coming from the back there or something on the bottom. But it's kind of a relaxing deal right now to know that you've got a group that's kind of broken away, and you can log some laps because, again, long 500 miles. You're waiting to get through these first 450 so you can really settle this thing.
And another wrinkle to throw in. Get yourself in a place where you're not 2 or 3 wide, because you might be making a break to pit road for a green flag stop shortly. You don't want to be blocked or get in an accident. Just try to slow down to get to the pit lane. Those stops will be on the way in the next couple of circuits. The draft blasting by you at the world's fastest speedway, headed by Matt Kenseth, leading the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup starting today and leading this 500-miler here at Talladega as we're 100 miles into today's race. Time for unlimited access to the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with NASCAR Mobile 13 and unlimited talk, text, and data on the Sprint Network. Fastest lap today, turned in the draft by Danica Patrick, running in the 8th position at the moment. Get unlimited access to the NASCAR Mobile 13 app with the unlimited My Way plan, guaranteed for life and only from Sprint. See sprint.com/speed for details. Danica started 23rd into the top 10.
Yeah, she definitely seems very comfortable at these restrictor plates at Daytona and Talladega and getting herself positioned and running well. Looks like she's got a fast race car on top of that.
Actually said that in her meeting with the press earlier this weekend here on Friday morning, that these were the style of races she so far felt the most comfortable in. The momentum, the drafting tactics, the speed, and so on translated very well from her past experiences. And, of course, that 8th place finish after starting on pole in the Daytona 500 earlier this year.
Yeah, if you think about her experience, she's been in Indy cars that run basically at terminal velocity, where they're flat on the floor with the gas pedal, and this is what you do here.
Here we go. Moves to pit road for green flag stops. This can always be dicey. Stenhouse clipping the grass. Dave?
Carl Edwards had been running around the top 20. They warned him first pit box. It comes up fast. He nailed it. Stopped a little bit short. It'll be a 4-tire change and full of Sunoco fuel. Doc?
Greg Biffle changing right side tires. Ordinarily, the left side tires don't wear here, but because they're going to have to take 2 cans of fuel, they're going to go ahead and put 4 tires on the left side of Biffle. No complaints on the car. Just trying to be able to get the car full of fuel. Biffle down and away, the 78 car. From 30th to 4th in 11 laps. Kurt Busch, great race car, 4 tires down and away.
And on these green flag pit stops, don't get a speeding penalty that causes you to come in by yourself and make that pass through and lose the draft. Leader Matt Kenseth comes in along with a whole host of other cars, Dave.
And they told him easy, easy, easy. He does hit the pit box well, just a little bit loose for the race car. He'll get a wedge adjustment in addition to Sunoco fuel and 4 tires. Vince?
The 48 of Jimmy Johnson was pitting when the 20 pits. Kenseth came, Johnson came. It's a 4-tire change for Jimmy Johnson. He did say early in that first stint that he felt a little free in the tri-oval, but nothing since.
Interesting. Kid with the 20 pits. A couple of teams taking a couple different strategies where some of that's concerned. We'll talk about that maybe a little later on after things cycle out. Joey Logano gives up the race lead to come in. Dave?
Junior will try to pick up a little track position here. 2-tire stop for him, and that's actually a way to do that, but they don't really need to change the left, so that's mainly the strategy here. He'll take a full load of fuel for the 88 car. Jamie?
Joey Logano in the 22 plan all day was to run up front. He's done just that. They work on the right-hand side. He's going to wait on the fuel here. No adjustments, not saying much on the radio, Doc.
2-car in, water bubbling out from the overflow of the hood. No complaints from Bradley. In fact, they've had a bit of a radio glitch. Have not been able to hear him that well. Jamie.
There is a fired-up Kyle Busch behind that wheel. He drove through and missed his pit box on the last stop. He stopped this time. You see the adjustment there, track bar. Waiting on fuel, right side tires. He's a man on a mission now.
Watching Kyle here, top left of your screen.
He basically got blocked out of his pit stall by Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, that's a situation you don't want to get yourself into. You got to know where your pit stall is, and that early on, you got to be on the inside.
Talked about that just a few minutes before the stop spot, getting yourself sorted out so you didn't.
I don't know why I don't ever do what I want to do. Damn it. You do that is going to happen. It's stupid. Look like a bunch of
Well, the frustration at the pit stop problem will only be multiplied by losing the draft. That's a lot of empty racetrack ahead. Now, Kyle could wait on Casey Kane here and have a 2-car draft because Casey's a little bit behind him.
Yeah, that would help the 2 of them for a while, but they're still going to have a hard time with the pack to be buried down. And in a situation like that, as a driver, you know where your pit stall is. You should know. And if you have to give up a little bit getting to pit road, it's important to make sure that you get in your stall and then stay with the group of cars.
So after the cycle of stops, they're not quite complete. They're being completed here. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick coming in. That's Brad Keselowski serving a penalty for speeding on his pit stop a minute ago. Dave?
Jeff was on pit road on lap 6, so he could stay out just a little bit longer. He has led laps today, so a chance to pick up a championship point there as well for Jeff, Jamie.
Plan for the 29 today, hang back for the first 100 laps, and he's done just that, but he's risking missing a group of drivers to run with for the draft. The car's pretty good, 14.6, pretty long on that stop. They wanted to make sure they packed him full of fuel, and Kevin Harvick is gone.
And here comes the pack that they'll try and blend in on the end of, with Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading.
Not the pack that Harvick was running with anyway, so he's looking for that next group that a little ways behind him. That's where
I'll catch on to them. Speeding on pit road penalty also for Bonnie Labonte on that round of green flag stops. Just past a quarter of the distance in today's 500-miler for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Talladega Superspeedway, and that's the race for the lead. Jimmy Johnson, blue car, inside lane. Dale Jr., green and white car, outside lane. Jimmy Johnson going to lead that lap. 27 cars in the lead lap after the first round of green flag pit stops. Just completed when Jeff Gordon came off the pit lane. Came off the pit lane ahead of the pack on his get up to speed lap and was swallowed up.
Yeah, that's what you got to be careful of. If you don't do what the other teams do and you have a quick pit stop, it can actually hurt you. He had about 3 or 4 second lead on this group, and when they caught him, boy, they went by him in a hurry.
So Jeff now showing back in 25th place. There are 27 cars in this lead pack, Dave.
And all they told Jeff was just make sure you're not the last car in that lead pack. Apparently, that's what bit the 5 earlier, and they just said as long as you're somewhere before the last car, you're okay.
Just joining us, Casey Kane losing the lead draft after dropping back toward the end of the line in the first run of the race, and now Casey is all the way back in 38th place. The only 2 cars on the lead lap behind him, both just had speeding penalties on their pit stops.
You can beat that last car, but you have to really drive your car hard and make sure that you don't breathe the throttle any at all. It's just losing those few hundred RPMs that can be the difference in losing the pack.
Kevin Harvick pitted when Gordon pitted, but was on the pit lane a little longer, and now he is separated from the pack with just those 2 cars, Dave Blaney and David Gilliland, back there to draft with him.
Now, been watching the times that they're only about 2 to 3 tenths off of what the front cars are running, so they're not in a bad spot yet.
Denny Hamlin 11, Dale Jr. 88. Saw the piece on NASCAR Countdown if you were with us here earlier about how popular Junior is at this speedway. When he comes by this grandstand racing for the lead, they're all jumping up and down.
I found it very interesting listening to Junior talk about getting advice from his dad when he first came here and started racing. Obviously, all of us watched and learned from Dale Earnhardt, but he was getting it firsthand. And my times of racing with Dale Jr., it was amazing to me that if you could have swapped his dad and Junior, I would have known which one was in the car because they raced so much alike at these types of racetracks. It was just incredible.
And the other part about his comments that really fascinated me, besides the fact that he seemed to be in a really great mood, I think he knew what a good car he had for this race, was talking about how much things changed from race to race here at Talladega. Waving at Jimmy Johnson ahead of him?
Yeah, I think he was trying to give him some direction on where he wanted to go.
I think he's wanting to run up high right now. And that's what he's kind of motioning Jimmy. I don't know if Jimmy could see it with the spoilers that are on these cars looking out, but that's where Jimmy wants to run right now.
So how much things change from race to race at this particular track, even when the configuration of the cars doesn't change.
Yeah, that doesn't change, but what changes are the competitors that you race with, your surroundings, and that's what makes things different. Why you have to continue to learn and evolve with this, because, as I said, nothing's changed since they were here back earlier this year, but the drafting and what they've learned about these cars and things will have changed, and so you have to adapt your styles, and I think that there was something that Junior found out here earlier this year that he's putting to good use, knew more of what he wanted with this race car, and it's proven to be exactly what he was needing here so far.
He failed to lead in May. That ended a 14-race streak that he had of leading in these races. This shows you how good he is.
How fascinating. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth right there racing for the lead in this one.
I think there's a strategy here to try to keep Matt Kenseth from leading any more laps. He has the most laps led at 20. As long as they can keep him from leading laps, possibly keeping him from leading most laps and that extra point.
Right now, starting this race, Matt Kenseth leading Jimmy Johnson by 4 points in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship standings. Matt has earned 4 more bonus points in the chase for leading laps and leading the most laps and winning races than Jimmy has. That is the entire difference between them.
Yeah, that's going to count. And right now, Jimmy doesn't have to be leading, but he needs someone besides that 20 car beside him to do the lead. So Jimmy's going to help whoever that is, whether it was Dale Earnhardt Jr., who happens to be his teammate, or is it someone else, just as long as that 20's not getting to the strike first on these laps.
So right now, Matt and Jimmy racing for second place behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. And we remind you to stay tuned for our NASCAR nonstop coverage during the second half of today's race, presented by Nationwide Insurance. There'll be a lot of action, and you won't miss any of it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. It's getting interesting in the pack. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is at Talladega Superspeedway. Our telecast today presented by 5 Hour Energy. We invite you to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy and watch enhanced race coverage from Talladega with 10 HD live race views, live chat, and live leaderboard. After his speeding penalty pass-through from the green flag pit stops, Brad Keselowski lost the draft and is going a lap down.
You guys not hear me at all? Because you're not answering anything I'm saying.
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know what I'm not hearing to answer that.
Well, I was asking for about 3 straight laps when we were going to pit.
All right, well, if I don't answer you, use the other radio.
Can't when you're talking on it.
Well, the driver doesn't need to be changing radios. That's up to the crew chief and them. Somebody's got to be hearing the driver, and when you're asking something, you've got a lot going on out there. You don't need to be looking and switching radios at any point in time, unless you're under caution talking about something.
Yeah, I guess somebody needs to answer the phone if
They do, sure.
So Brad will fall in with the pack here and try and keep himself the first car a lap down. If we get a caution flag, can get the free pass and get back in the hunt. Bobby Labonte also a lap down, 47 cars, so that's who he's racing. Joe Nemechek is 2 laps down. Tony Raines is out of the race. Everybody else is on the lead lap.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is going to be the next one that's going to go a lap down. He's running by himself, and he's not very far in front of this lead pack. They're coming at a pretty high rate of speed.
Matt Kenseth leading. Dale Jr. second. Marcus Ambrose third. Made a couple of really bold outside moves in that 9 car, but has gotten himself some track position and now riding in line there in the number 3 spot.
He's one of those drivers that doesn't have anything to lose here today. I mean, this is a guy that he runs. He does a good job on these restricted plate tracks, getting himself in a position, and it might be considered by some of them a fairly dangerous man out there today because he's got nothing to lose but trying to get a win.
Jimmy Johnson trying to lead that inside line back up to race with Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, it looked like Junior was trying to get him to run high when they were together, and Junior was leading the race, and they were keeping his 20 car from leading laps. But as Junior went into the corner, you see Matt swapping lanes right there to try to keep the lead. But when they went in the corner, Jimmy just didn't go to the wall with Junior, and that allowed it kind of opened up the hole for Matt Kenseth to take the lead. I was talking about earlier, you see how Matt really manages the lead about as good as anybody.
But if you're Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr. and Matt's changing lanes back and forth like that, is that kind of aggravating you?
No, you know what? I mean, you're going to be doing the same thing. You also have to know and be very confident in what you're doing there as a driver, that you're giving yourself enough room, because in this situation, you don't want to make a slight miscalculation of coming down there and that group behind you coming at a little faster speed than what you anticipated, create some contact and make for a bad day then.
It's one of the things that's fun about Talladega is people shuffling to the front, into the back, into the front of the pack all day. Some new names now beginning to push toward the front. Paul Menard, Martin Truex, Michael Waltrip in that inside lane, all shuffling their way closer to the front. 27, 56, 55.
Yeah, Michael Waltrip in that 55. Michael does a tremendous job. Obviously, he's won on these Daytona here. He knows what to do, knows what position he wants to get himself in. Was in looking like he might be in a position last year in this very race to race for the win. So Tony decided to put a little bit of block on him at that time. But Michael will be a factor in this race. He knows how to get to the finish of them, and he can be very aggressive when it comes time.
Two-time Daytona 500 winner.
Again, very dangerous man. Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
Sorry about the caution banner across the top of the screen. I think our computer software saw him get 4 wide and decided it was going to jump the gun a little.
It'd probably be right more than wrong in most cases.
Kyle Busch about to get swallowed up by the pack. Teammate Denny Hamlin going to pick him up.
Yeah, Denny went down there to see if he could keep Kyle up here as that first car one lap down. So if he can help Kyle stay in that position, then if we do, if and when, we're going to have a caution at some point. But this puts Kyle and keeps him in a position ahead of that 2 car.
Coming up on 200 miles today at Talladega in this 500-miler for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson running 1-2.
"70 laps complete, and the jostling for position continues at Talladega Superspeedway. Jimmy Johnson, your new leader, followed by his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. Inside the Quick Loans ESPN Pit Studio, I'm Nicole with Rusty, Brad, and Ray. One of the things that we addressed in Countdown was how easy it would be to lose the draft in this particular race. And as we take a look at the 5-hour Energy Rapid recap, mistakes have led to that for several drivers.
Oh yeah, you see Kyle Busch tried to make it this pit stall and missed it, had to go back out. Now he's way behind, he's a lap down, he is mad, he's fussing on the radio trying to compose himself, get that lap back.
Yeah, Casey Kane, another guy, got back early and then lost the end of the draft and absolutely got devoured by the field another lap later, putting another lap down. He's got a long way to go.
Brad Keselowski speeding on pit road.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not good.
No, it's not good because he had to come back to a pass-through, and when you do that, you lose the draft, and right now he's a lap down because of it.
One of the fastest cars on the racetrack, too, a lap down.
One of the things we saw during the commercial break, Matt Kenseth had been out front. He has been one of the strongest cars all day. He's led 31 laps. He's not out there right now. He fell back to about 14th. Dave, what's going on there?
It was a move that caught spotter Chris Osborne by surprise. Matt came back on the radio and said, at all costs, we have to block that middle lane. He said, if I'm ever going to get stuck, it's going to be in the middle. Chris told him what had happened, and here you see the move happening here. What surprised them was how quickly the 27 moved down as well, but obviously Jimmy making that move was where the middle came into play. Alan?
Dave, thanks. So Matt going from 1st to 16th at the moment. He's picked his way back up to 12th now, while Jimmy Johnson leads. And the comings and goings throughout the pack continue to be really interesting. Strong run today by Austin Dillon in Tony Stewart's 14 car. There he is running right behind Paul Menard in the Neon 27. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now coming up behind them. Stenhouse having a strong run.
Yeah, he really is. Now, I kind of expected this from Ricky Stenhouse today. He likes this type of racing. He enjoys the challenge that it presents. And he knows this is an opportunity this year with this race team. If he's going to get that first Sprint Cup win, this might happen today. He's seen a lot of drivers do that.
It's happened a lot here at Talladega.
Yeah, you see that 18 car in the draft, he's lap down. How do the other drivers treat a car that's a lap down in this lead group at this stage?
Well, I think that you have to look at the reasoning, and most of them will know that Kyle's got a fast car, that there was a mistake involved and got that situation. But you're really not looking to help him, you know. He may be there, but he's fortunate he's got his teammate Denny Hamlin there that is helping him some. Otherwise, he would have probably dropped further back in this pack.
Of course, Stenhouse earlier on the green flag pit stops. We were talking about Ricky a second ago. Jogging the memory. Remember, he cut a little grass down with the right front corner of that car.
You can see he got inside the cone was no problem, but then I don't know if he wasn't really looking at where he was going, but got off, and fortunately he didn't tear up the splitter there.
Or just couldn't get woven down enough.
Yeah.
But no harm, no foul, unless you're the grass.
Yeah, and they were able to clean that when they made that pit stop, so they didn't have to worry about overheating the engine.
So Jimmy Johnson is leading. Matt Kenseth has been up front, running 10th right now in this line, while Kevin Harvick runs back in 29th place. And right from the start of the race, yes, I know Harvick started back in 33rd position, but they dropped to the back of the pack, and they seem to be employing a strategy not just of drop back, but of doing whatever the opposite is of the two guys ahead of him in the championship.
Yeah, I talked to Gil Martin at length this morning about their chances for the championship and how this race might change that for them. And he said what they're going to do today is just do the opposite of what the 48 and 20 do. If they're going to lead laps and be up front, then they're going to go to the back. They don't want to get caught up in the same wreck as them if something happens, because they need some kind of a separation race today for them to be back into this.
They do need that, but they've lost more than where they want to be. They're not just at the back. They've lost touch with the pack right now, and they're going to need help from a caution or something if this continues to go green for a long time, or he'll be in danger of possibly getting lapped. Even though there's 3 of them running together, they're losing a lot of time. That's not where they wanted to be. I would have rather taken 2 tires on that situation and then got myself in a position as to which pack I want to be. You could go to the back of this and still be in good shape, but they're in a dangerous spot right now.
Yeah, I noticed that their pit stop was a little bit lengthy. They got 4 tires, filled up with gas, but they were not in a position to give up any more of that track time. And I'm with you. I think they probably should have just taken 2 tires, so there's no upside to getting forward.
So Harvick at the back, while Kenseth has marshaled some help in that inside lane and is starting to work his way back up to contend with Johnson for the lead.
I'm telling you, you have a fast car and a good driver, and people respect and know that that's what it is. Matt Kenseth is going to lead you, not going to lead you in a bad spot. You're going to get help, and this time right now it's Jamie McMurray that latched onto the bumper of Matt Kenseth.
So Matt Kenseth's like the Pied Piper here.
That's right, yeah.
Dale Jr. again to the outside of Jimmy Johnson as Jimmy drops down to block that inside lane.
Well, he knew he might give up the lead, but he wasn't going to let the 20 be the one to take it.
Yeah. So far today, Kenseth has led the most laps, in position for that precious bonus point toward the championship.
Yeah, they're boxing him in now, not letting him up front.
70-lap green flag run. Just the one caution back at lap 2 for an engine failure. That's it. Don't count on it being that way all the way to the finish. More green flag pit stops coming up shortly, and they're 3 wide again. Oh, trouble! Marcus Ambrose turned in the tri-oval. Montoya collected. Everybody else gets through it.
That's a break Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch needed.
Marcus Ambrose did an amazing job to keep driving that race car as they went off the racetrack onto the apron and not hit the inside wall.
Be interesting to see if he got a little bit of help in this.
You'd have to think so, huh? Ambrose and Montoya were running 5th
You got any oil pressure?
and 16th.
Grove is one of the toughest spots on this racetrack. It's a big corner itself. Cars get really light in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he got any help. He was definitely in some traffic. He was in the middle, coming through the tri-oval.
So he's going to try to change lanes, go to the top. Oh, yeah, just, wow. That's just air working right there.
Montoya just a victim.
Yeah, unfortunate for him. He's wrong place at the wrong time.
Carl Edwards got a good
barely
look at
missed
that
this. Trevor Bain right behind that in the 21 car, able to get slowed down enough to miss it. So he just goes up here. As he tries to get back in line, he's getting closer to the wall, so you turn left, and it's just an arrow situation of the car getting loose.
Okay, high, go high. You're gonna come back up now. Gonna come back up. All right, good work.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya out of his car, down on the apron, inside of turn number 1.
That's what we talk about, the frustration that the drivers feel at this place sometimes. That's exactly why the frustration is there. It's not that they don't like being here. It's just that so many things are out of your control, and you see it happen more times than not.
So pit road closed here. The pace car is just now going to pick up the front of the field. And the pace car leading the leader past pit road is what opens it for the work. So we remain quiet on the pit lane for a moment. Big break, you mentioned it, DJ, for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, and he has his teammate Denny Hamlin to thank for that. He can take him to dinner. Not that Denny can't afford it on his own, but it'd be a nice gesture. Because he's really the reason by getting in, taking the time. Denny was actually up racing for the lead and chose to get in behind Kyle Busch and keep him up towards the front of that pack to be the first car lap down.
Yeah, and then as they lapped other cars like Casey Kane and some of the other guys, they were able to just kind of mow right by them because they didn't have that kind of help.
So while we wait for the pace car to pick up the field and the pit road to be open, take a minute and remind you about next Sunday's action as the chase moves from the massive Talladega track to the Martinsville Bull Ring. Pushing and shoving, beating and banging. Let's see, it was the 3-wide restart and clunk, clunk, clunk a couple of years ago that set off the whole Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer thing. Martinsville, next Sunday, 1 Eastern time, somebody's going to take home a very nice grandfather clock trophy.
Oh, yeah, those things are nice. Yeah, wild card mini there next week.
All right, that's next Sunday from Virginia. So pit road's going to be open here. Been a full fuel run. These teams were just shy of pitting under the green flag, so be interesting to see if anyone plays any alternate strategies here when they need a lot of fuel.
Yeah, and tires really don't help any here. I've talked to crew chiefs, and they don't really wear. They'll just change tires if they feel like they need to, or don't worry about giving up track position. But here they come to you, Dave.
Kenseth took 4 the first time. Junior took rights only. So Kenseth's guys were talking about keeping him some track position. So probably rights for him. Junior's going to get just rights again. Vince.
Jimmie Johnson to hit his marks on this pit stop. Going to make a chassis adjustment. It's a 2-tire stop. Still waiting on the fuel. Let's go to Doc.
Greg Biffle, right lower corner. Biff says no really problems. A little bit aero loose in traffic. Little adjustment right rear. 4 tires. Getting it full of Sunoco fuel. Waiting. Now over 14 seconds, 15 plus, and Biffle's away.
Little trouble on the right rear there for Kenseth's car, but it didn't appear to hold him up because everybody else was waiting on fuel just a little bit. So just the second caution is out after Marcos Ambrose and Juan Pablo Montoya were involved in an incident in the tri-oval. Ambrose losing control, collecting Montoya. And it's a bad day in Alabama for those two drivers. Coming to get the 1-to-go signal. Going to go racing in another lap. Our ESPN in-race reporter, Matt Kenseth, is going to be right near the front of the pack. In fact, he'll be second when we restart.
Hey, Matt, Dale Jarrett, I know you're getting 1 to go. Have time for one quick question?
Absolutely.
Hey, Matt, a great car once again, and you're doing an outstanding job there, but man, is it sometimes you don't have enough eyes to keep up with everything going on around you? So you have the lead and then slip back to about 15th or 16th there.
Yeah, I mean, I got the best spotter in the roof. He sees a lot of stuff, and I'm very demanding, to say the least. So, yeah, it's been a good start. Our Home Depot Let's Do This Toyota's got a lot of speed. When I get in the right spot, I just made a couple moves where I didn't have it in the right spot. I just didn't see the right run coming, and didn't get in the right lane and got shuffled back. So I feel like we're learning a little bit. It's a little busier out here than I hope. So hopefully we can, get back in position and stay up front here this run.
All right, thanks for talking. I'm not sure the rest of the group's going to be glad to know that you're still learning more as fast as you are. Thanks for talking.
All right, thanks, sir.
Matt Kenseth running second, Jimmie Johnson running first. That should not surprise us, not only because they're the top two in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, but because in the restrictor plate races of the last 2 years, they've done a lot of winning.
Yeah, they really have. And we talk about drivers, they just have that knack and that feel for what's happening around here. They're at the front again.
I'm still surprised how hard they're racing each other today. You see the 2 tires on pit road trying to get out there, lead these laps, trying to keep the other one from leading laps. I think that's interesting. You see the strategy for the 29, 24 is kind of the opposite.
And I guess it comes back to that same thing that Gil Martin was talking to you about, is if you're going to be in a wreck, you want the other guy to be in that same proximity, so you play to a draw today. You know, I mean,
that's what it's all about, is trying to do something different. Yeah.
Seems to make sense. So they'll be side by side of the front row for this restart. Jimmie Johnson, Matt Kenseth have led most of the laps today between them. the cars of Juan Pablo Montoya and Marcus Ambrose are off the track and in the garage area at the moment. Our green flag restart presented by Nationwide Insurance.
Out there. They got him out front from Dale Jr., but he wasn't able to hang on. Matt Kenseth had one from Austin Dillon. That's going to help him take the lead right now. Here comes Jr. back on the 48 bumper.
And Kenseth down in front of Johnson to close off that lane.
Yeah, it's something you have to maintain as a driver. You know that you can't get out there too far because somebody's going to get some help and come back by you. But I'm not sure Matt's going to have the lead when they get back there.
Barely. Did a little bit.
I think this might be some of the hardest racing I've ever seen in this part of the race.
Well, Austin Dillon got pushed right there. He got a big push from behind and actually made him loose and turned his car towards the wall. Had to get out of the pack there for just a second. And I think a lot of it, Andy, they feel very comfortable in these cars with what they have, that's why we're seeing them race so hard.
You know, you talked about guys feeling comfortable in these cars. Of course, this new Generation 6 race car for 2013. It does have a lot more downforce than the other car, but they run a lot smaller spoiler here. And the back end, the stability of the back end of the cars was something the teams had to work on a lot at the start of this season.
Yeah, this package is way different than you see at the mile and a half and other short tracks where that spoiler is a lot shorter. I think overall, though, this car does have good handling characteristics. And in a track like this, you're not really up against the limit of grip in the corners anyway.
It's that downforce in that field that the drivers get that allow them to be aggressive in the cars, and that's what happens. These cars could be running 30, 35 miles an hour faster than what they are, but because of the restrictor plates that are on them, keeps them bunched up, but the drivers feel secure and can make moves that are exciting for us to watch and can be fun inside the race car too.
And as we watch what happened to Austin Dillon a second ago, the other part of it is the competition level. Now we see that not just at Talladega and Daytona, but across all the racetracks. The number of good teams and good drivers and good equipment.
Wow, that was close.
That was almost big right there. That wasn't nice. You can see Paul Menard trying to give him a little bit of a push there, but you have to be careful. The bumpers don't line up perfectly, front and rear of these cars. If you get too much of a push there, you kind of get the nose underneath and it'll literally pick the back end of the car up. And then that's exactly what happened to Austin Dillon. And as he tried to correct that, it shoved him towards the wall. Did a nice save.
So just to finish off that point, the depth of the competition means you have to race hard.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Alan. And there's so many of them out there that the cars are so much alike, and they're mandated on what they can and can't do to these cars. Puts it in the driver's hands out here, and makes for exciting racing.
Danica Patrick in the top 10, 7th place, a 10 car.
It just makes it so difficult as a driver because it doesn't even sometimes, we might call it a mistake, but it doesn't really be a mistake. It's just a miscalculation by the slightest of margins that creates a really bad situation when you think you're in a good spot.
The pink colors sharing with the normally neon green GoDaddy car. Danica, of course, and her sponsor in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month and research and cures for that terrible disease. Danica says somebody like me has more of a shot here, just like everybody else. She's in the top 10, thundering around the Talladega High Banks. with Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. heading the lead pack. The race for the lead, live at Talladega Superspeedway in the Camping World RV Sales 500. Clint Boyer, with a nice inside run and some help from a few of his friends, has gone all the way to the number 1 spot. Jimmy Johnson heading the outside lane as we come to the cross flag signal. We're halfway through today's race.
Clint Boyer, another one of those drivers that has that knack for knowing what it takes to get to the front of the pack here at Talladega, for sure.
I'm very interested to see that third car inside line. Kurt Busch in the white number 78. Kurt was one of the cars that stayed out on that last caution until the field got the one-to-go signal. Came in and took his fuel then and started at the back of the pack. Look at him now.
Yeah, he's got a good gauge on how quickly he can go from the back to the front when it comes time at the end.
I talked to Kurt this morning, and he said that he didn't really want to employ that hang-back strategy. He likes to race up front, and especially if he's got a new sponsor on the car this week, and he wants them to have a good experience, and being up front gives them that.
Kurt 3 wide, Trevor Bayne goes up the middle, and the Woodrunners 21. Matt Kenseth shuffled to the outside lane after being side-by-side for the lead with Jimmy Johnson a little while ago.
Feels like it's really loose. I don't know if you changed anything. Well, I feel like I'm going to crash loose, Jason. Did you do anything? No, sir. Okay, maybe it's just my own spot.
Crash is the last thing that he wants to do today.
No, and they talk about, you don't get into talking about handling of the cars too much, but you can see he's not putting a lot of steering wheel into it. Of course, he was in the high line right there, but it looks like he's very tentative, especially on the entry to the corner.
Well, it's like I said, they're not at that limit of grip, but with this low downforce package and these dynamic situations they find themselves in, we saw Marcus Ambrose just lose his drive.
Yeah. When you find yourself back here where all the air is really being stirred up a lot, car drives quite a bit different.
34 cars on the lead lap in this draft, 2 racing to be the first a lap down. The 2 car of Brad Keselowski and the 5 of Casey Kane. They're in that inside lane. Caution comes out. Whoever's ahead of the other is going to get waved back around onto the lead lap. Landon Castle, Bobby Labonte, and Terry Labonte also a lap down.
4 wide through the trove. It gets a little dicey right here.
Maybe 4 wide. Watch the 17, 21.
Yeah, something that came to mind, we were talking about the level of competition earlier and how many, it puts everybody in here and in this pack. And it really makes you appreciate how good the drivers have gotten to be at this. The skill level that they bring to this is just incredible. Because we used to see them running this, and they would crash, run into each other, make mistakes, things happening. You don't see that nearly as much, but it's just unbelievable racing. They're making this look easy, and I'm telling you, it is so very difficult.
I mean, you can just see right there, there's not hardly any room for an error by any of those drivers.
Casey Kane, a run on Brad Keselowski. That's to be the first car a lap down. The race within the race.
Yeah, that's all you do in this situation is get in front of that car that, just in case something does happen.
And it sure could right now.
See, Brad opted to go to that middle lane. Now he's taking that spot back away from Casey Kane. Big win for Brad Keselowski last week in this race team. They really needed that. They'd put themselves in position a lot. Just could never make it happen this year until that.
And what a great race for the lead at the end of that one.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Guys that raced for the win last week at the end of Charlotte here are racing to get back on the lead lap.
Yep, against each other. A lot of racing left to go at the world's fastest speedway. There's the fight for the lead. And second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. Talladega Superspeedway in the race for the lead in the Camping World RV Sales 500. We remind you, NASCAR.com has all your latest NASCAR information. That information will tell you Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out in front of this race, not by much. Jimmy Johnson to his inside in a very speedy Talladega race that's only seen 2 caution flags. One for an engine failure on lap 2, another for a 2-car crash at lap 78. Haven't had the big one yet. We've had 13 different drivers pace laps in this race, 28 lead changes. Top 2 in the championship have been in the mix at the front of the pack. In fact, they've led the most laps, the 2 of them. Matt Kenseth 32, Jimmy Johnson 30, while some of those trying to catch them in the championship are playing the opposite strategy. Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick riding around at the back of the pack, waiting to see what's going to unfold in front of them.
You see Jimmy Johnson just took the lead that lap. Now he's within 1 lap of leading the most laps at this point. Matt Kenseth having that 1 lap lead on him. But I just think it's amazing how hard they're racing for that 1 point. We've got that race going on. We've got the race for the lucky dog position in the middle of this pack. There's just a lot of things on the line right now.
1 point would have made a difference in who won the championship a couple of years ago.
Yeah, right.
You're right. And they very well know, as good as these teams are, that it could come down to just that 1 point, that one position, that 1 bonus point.
And for some reason in this stint, it doesn't.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yowza.
That was close.
And obviously, Junior doesn't care if Jimmy's losing.
Evidently not.
Not his job.
Not his agenda today.
That's right.
I was going to say, though, I don't think Kenseth, the 20 car is as good this run as he's been all day.
That 48 car, though, and 88, very strong. They seem to have the ability to move around people in the pack a lot more than a lot of others in the field.
If I had to pick which one I thought was the best, I think it's the 88 car, though.
I do too, but what I'm interested in is how different it is for Jimmy Johnson racing with these cars, these new cars this year, and Dale Jr., I believe, because this is back to more, what I'll go back to a few years ago, more old school drafting type, how you use it, not the tandem stuff that we saw that I don't think either one of them were a fan of. And even though Junior pushed Jimmy to a win here one time, I don't think that was what they like to do. They enjoy this style and the challenge that it brings, and certainly is shown now this year with Jimmy Johnson, his average finish versus a last year's average finish on these restrictor plate tracks.
So there's your tie for most laps led. Jimmy got that lap, so he and Matt Kenseth have each led the same number of laps today. Jimmy running in the race lead, and Matt Kenseth, after getting shuffled back just before that last caution from the lead to 16th, now finds himself off of the lead group and back in 24th place, Dave.
Now, first let's let Matt describe the condition of his race car.
Jason, I don't know. I know you said you didn't do anything, but I'm telling you, this whole flipping loose, I feel like I'm going to crash every corner. I don't know if it's just 2 tires, or we got a low left rear, or what. Just watch for wrecks up there crazy for about 10 laps here, and we get this sorted out.
And of course he meant low right rear. He corrected himself a little while later. They only changed right side tires here, and the main thing he didn't want to do was try to diagnose this while he was in that pack. So he sort of dropped back for now. It's still very loose. He'd love to pit right now, but they're not quite in a pit window to do that.
The last thing you want with a loose race car, you don't get it very often here, but it does happen. But you do not want to be up in that fast pack, getting yourself in that position, because easy to lose control in that situation. Matt Kenseth, very smart driver, understanding the situation. He'll have another opportunity to get tires on it and make this car better.
Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Stenhouse for the lead. Stenhouse, 17 inside lane, with Brad Keselowski a lap down, towing along in the graph, trying to stay that first car a lap down should the caution come out. Jimmy Johnson back to that outside lane, and we check out on the 48 pits with Vince.
Well, the championship battle between Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth, you heard Dave reporting on the issues that Kenseth was having with his car. No such problem for Jimmy. Jimmy says the car is good. He told me before the race he was very confident. He felt like it was a fast car, and he said, I want to run up front, not just lead laps, which he has led the most, but he feels like he's more in control of his destiny when he's in the front, or at least with that lead pack. So you won't see him slipping to the back for any type of strategy move. Jimmy is right where he wants to be.
And if you've got the car as a driver, that's what you need to do. That's your best situation. And what we've seen with Jimmy, when others have made runs at him, he gives that up and then starts his march back towards the front. He's not taking any chances up here with this fast race car, like trying to cut someone off or anything like that. He's doing all the right things right now.
4 points between Kenseth and Johnson starting the day. I mentioned this earlier. Difference in the bonus points earned for wins and leading laps and so on is 4. We go NASCAR Nonstop now, presented by Nationwide Insurance. What action here at Talladega as the pack thunders around the world's fastest speedway. Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. racing for the lead. Stenhouse driving the Nationwide Insurance car. We take a look at the danger zone, brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. We haven't had it yet today, the big one.
Oh, we will, but this is so much fun to watch it. Look, Casey Mears and Justin Allgaier are up here in the middle of the mix now.
Yeah, I was telling you guys during the commercial break, you look down this leaderboard, and it's one of the fun things about a Talladega race. Who's on it, right? Here's Mears and Dillon and Almirola and Trevor Bayne and Cole Witt and Travis Kvapil and all these guys that the draft helps equalize their chance.
Yeah, Michael McDowell in the 98 up in the mix in this thing.
McDowell showing 11th at the moment.
Usually, at this point in the race, they're logging laps, basically. But we've seen more racing at this stage than I've ever seen here.
And by the way, still, right of your screen, 2 and 5. Keselowski and Kane racing to be the first car lap down in case the caution comes out. Brad with a speeding penalty and a green flag pit stop earlier. Casey losing the draft earlier in the race, both going down the lap and hoping to get back in position to contend for a good finish. Third in line, Kurt Busch, 78 car. Started at the back twice today, and Doc's got a little flapping action going on there.
Yeah, take a look at the left rear quarter panel there. They're working here in the pits to fabricate a brace, and they're going to try to put this brace on. If it get a yellow flag, it can do it, they said, without slowing the pit stop down very long. But the left rear quarter panel, right behind that left rear tire, flopping back and forth in the air. Kurt complaining the car a little bit free in the corner. You see it flopping there, and they want to brace it up so that the car be a little more stable in the corner. He said a little bit free up off.
Tip of the cap to the camera crew.
Yeah.
Capturing that at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. And I would take the time to fix that too, because as fast as he made his way back to the front after that last restart, he can get there no problem. In fact, I might pull that in a little bit further than what it's
be a chance to tune on a little bit.
That never happens.
Wouldn't bet on it.
That's the voice of experience speaking over there now.
So these leaders last pitted at lap 81, around 40 laps, a fuel run. So we're not far from seeing another run to the pit road here. And again, back to the topic of being 2 and 3 wide as you come up to green flag pit stops.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'm seeing is a lot of these cars that were laying back are now having to start ramping up a little bit because they saw what happened on that last exchange with the pit stops. Some of them lost the draft. They don't want that to happen. So now as you get close to that, you get a little bit more out of your car, you get a little bit closer to that and hope that nothing happens so that you don't have to make a strategy decision as far as what you want to do. But I would expect that a number of those back there will just take 2 tires.
See how it's starting to get a little bit single file at the front, like they may be planning on making these stops, trying to get in position instead of racing for spots and trying to get themselves in a good position to make this green flag pit stop.
Yeah, the handling starts to go away just a little bit at this point in time because we've been out there. The other thing is sometimes you just have to get single file and catch your breath. You can't do this all the time. Again, they're making it look easy, but it's very difficult.
So with the pit stops coming up and the field sorting itself out and positioning itself for same, we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Nationwide Insurance. Jimmy Johnson goes from the lead to pit road and pretty well by himself, Vince.
Well, it's a 4-tire change, and Jimmy was expected to come in about 3 laps, and then he came on the radio and said, I'm coming, and it certainly caught Chad Knaus, the crew chief, by surprise. They make a chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change. He was not out of gas. The car was still running in the box.
The problem he's going to have now, he's got Justin Allgaier, who also pitted, is he's going to need to blend back in with these cars and not lose too much time in track position by being out there by himself. See how it all works out. Dave?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has not changed left side tires all day long. It looks like this time they're finally going to get a chance to do that. They'll clean the grill. They'll get everything full of fuel. The 20 is in as well. The hard part for Jason Ratcliffe is, did we have a right side tire problem, or do we need to make an adjustment to the chassis? They did make a chassis adjustment. 4 tires have been changed, Doc.
Talking about 2 tires, now they make a change to 4 tires for the 78 car of Kurt Busch. No complaints. They wanted to fix that fender. Don't have time at this point to get it fixed. Down and away, 13.6 seconds.
Pit stops, including Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick been sticking to his plan, floating back there in about the 31st position all race long. That was the plan, though, for the first 100 laps, but he stayed there. The call right now, 4 tires, they'll fill them up with fuel. Hasn't said a whole lot, Doc.
Chad Keselowski in for his pit stop on the 2 car. Right side tires, Keselowski down the way after being a lap down, trying to charge back and get a top 10 finish, if not better.
All right, Doc, and the 3rd wave of leaders. Including Carl Edwards, Dave.
He took 4 last time, so let's see if they try to get a little track position for Carl this time on the 99 car. Guys finish up the right side work, and they will indeed go 4 again. So he'll leave himself that option perhaps on the last run, Jamie.
And Joey Logano's handling has gone away as the run went on, saying he's loose, especially in traffic, which means pretty much all the time. They'll fill him up with fuel, right sides only, Doc.
4 tires, Greg Biffle, windshield tear-offs that don't jam the brakes on and then make the front dive down, so you got room to get the front tires on. Lug nuts on, down and away. Good stop for the Biffle crew.
Jeff Gordon, again, one of the last to pit. Dave?
He was on pit road on lap 82. They took 4 tires that time. They're talking about just 2 this time. Perhaps for Jeff, that is going to be the call. Finish off the fueling. Make sure you finish it off. And then leave pit road.
And all by himself on that pit lane. So how he blends in with the draft that's just now coming off of turn 4. Remember, Jeff's got to stay down on the apron all the way around turns 1 and 2. Bad news for Casey Kane. Speeding on pit road. Pass-through penalty coming up.
I actually happened to be looking at that car and saw him pull away from us as he exited his pit. Looked like it was either the next to last or last section that he had a high rate of speed.
That's a bad day gone worse for Casey. He's already a lap down.
There's Jeff Gordon blending into the pack as it reforms.
See Jimmy Johnson way back in this pack as everybody came out.
Pitting by himself, those couple of laps running around there before the pack reformed.
Yeah, the other guys are out there drafted, and they're able to run laps that are second and a half faster, and the second and a half in this group is going to take you from the lead to about last in line.
So there's your leader, Aric Almirola. And Jimmy Johnson is going to be back in 17th place.
lesson was that he stayed up front long enough to give himself a pretty good cushion as far as the most laps led.
And he's got plenty of time to try and work his way back to the front from there.
Kenseth, it looks like a push from 18.
And by the way, he's right back there with Matt Kenseth. They've been right around each other all day long. Top two in the championship. They played to a draw at Charlotte last Saturday night. And will they play to a draw again here today at Talladega? We've got a lot of racing left to go. Still haven't had the big wreck. But as longtime NASCAR fans know, the closer we get to the finish, the more likely it is. New leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr. back out in front. Been strong all day. Very much in the hunt for what would be a big win. Impressive. Jimmy Johnson, 17th after the pit stops just concluded, races his way back up to take the lead with now 56 laps to go here at Talladega. Time for unlimited access to the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with NASCAR Mobile 13 and unlimited talk, text, and data on the Sprint Network. Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps today, 44 to Matt Kenseth's 32. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s led 15. Get unlimited access to the NASCAR Mobile 13 app with the unlimited My Way play. Guaranteed for life and only from Sprint. See sprint.com/speed for details. That was impressive.
It sure was, yeah. He passed him kind of where I saw him pass some on the outside. He went to the middle and then to the bottom.
I know I said earlier that I thought the 88 car was the best of those two, but I'm not so sure now after what I just saw.
Now, Matt Kenseth has been matching Johnson pretty well up through the traffic, though still not very happy with the mount that he is in.
So loose, I can't even race, Jason. It feels like he took 5 rounds out of the right rear. I just can't drive it. What happened 2 stops ago? It's insane. Yeah, I just gotta go out here. I'm so loose, I'm gonna crash. I gotta fix my car here. I can't race.
Well, for not being able to race, he's doing a whale of a job.
Must have come around a little bit for him. You wouldn't put yourself in this position, especially battling for a championship, if it hadn't gotten somewhat better.
I can see a little weave there going in the corner.
The steady drone of the engine at top speed all day long. The lead draft is 29 cars. Lead lap, 33 cars. David Ruderman has just taken his car off the track. Sounded like the engine went sour on the 83 machine.
So a lot of damage on the 78 left front fender.
He's hit something pretty hard in this draft somewhere.
Doesn't seem like it's hurt the car any.
That's a big dent right there.
Put that with the flapping left rear fender that they wouldn't have gotten a chance to fix on that green flag pit stop. But really, what a drive today by Kurt and this 78 team. He started at the back, drove to the front, went back to the pack after choosing an alternate pit strategy earlier, staying out and coming in on one to go, went back to the front. Here he is, running fourth or so.
Somewhere in that vicinity? Yeah. You see right behind him there's Matt Kenseth again. You see his car moving around a little bit. The one thing that you get concerned about as a driver in this situation, Matt can maintain as long as they kind of stay stable right there. But it's that time that somebody gets down on his right rear quarter panel or just right up on his bumper, probably through the triover or something, that could create a really bad situation for Matt with a loose race car.
And beginning to see, as Dale Jr. goes back to the top spot, a lot of the guys who employed the drop-back strategy for a lot of the race, like Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick, start to work their way up through the pack. There's Gordon in that inside lane, getting the car back, and starting to race toward the front.
Yeah, that's another thing I talked to Gil Martin about is this strategy of staying at the back. How long are you going to do that? He said they needed at least the last gas run, which is 40 laps, and he thought they actually needed more than that, maybe a stop and a half. And that's where we are now. 50 laps to go. That's when they were going to start their charges.
I'm sure they know. If I'm going to employ that strategy, I'm going to wait way longer than that. I'm going to give myself a better chance, because we've seen Kurt Busch, for example, drive his way up there. Jimmy Johnson did it in 5 laps. So I'm not going to put myself in that position now because things are ramping up. This is when things are more likely to happen at this point in time.
Kevin Harvick, third in the championship, starting the race. They were going to do the opposite of whatever Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth did. The two that were ahead of him and had a little bit of a gap. They enjoyed that today, but at some point, they'll pay out those championship points and finishing positions on the last lap. You got to position yourself for that.
Yeah, one thing he said is they need some time to experiment too, Dale. We said that early in the race, how a lot of drivers are really practicing to the end to see, where their car is happiest. And they have to have some time to be able to do that and to find out where they need to be when the closing laps come up.
There's no doubt you have to figure that out exactly what you and your car are capable of doing on this day. I don't know that unless they just plan on trying to charge to the very front and get themselves positioned there. If so, then there's no better time to do that than the present.
You see the 2-car Brad Keselowski to get this lap back the old-fashioned way. Raced by the leader.
See Kyle Busch in that group right there who got the free pass just a little bit ago. Battling for the race lead now.
Kyle missed his pit earlier on a green flag stop, had to come back in. Brad had a pit road speeding penalty earlier and had to make a pass for the green flag. Just joining us from some of the early football games today, building to a frantic finish at Talladega. The wild card race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Been very clean so far and been a great fight for the lead all race long between Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, and others. Only a couple of caution flags in the race. One for an engine at lap 2, one for a 2-car crash at lap number 78. Marcus Ambrose and Juan Pablo Montoya. And as we get closer to the finish, you see the troubles for Denny Hamlin, who's been up there racing for the lead and now is on the apron coasting back around toward the garage.
I'd have to say that Denny Hamlin probably can't. 2013 can't get over fast enough for him. Nothing going right. Had a great race car here today. Like the engine probably expired.
Individual stories to catch you up on. Kyle Busch missed his pit stall on a green flag stop earlier in the race. Lost the draft, lost a lap, got a free pass on the caution for the crash. There he is, racing for second place. 2-car behind him, Brad Keselowski. Pit road speeding penalty, lost a lap. He sits there, 1 lap down, hoping for a caution to be able to come back around on the lead lap and have enough time to race through for a good finish. Matt Kenseth has recently faded from the front of the pack. With a car, he's struggling with its handling. He's back to 24th place now, while Jimmy Johnson runs in 4th. And we've had 41 lead changes. A lot of action in this one, but very clean racing action so far. You watch that running order come across the top of your screen. Many drivers have come to the front, been shuffled to the back, come back to the front in this pack all race long. But really the trio that have spent most of the time up front are Johnson, Kenseth, and Dale Jr.
You can see right there how things just get shuffled up as they approach a couple of cars that laps down. Casey Kane in the 5 going to the high side, but they just got everybody that were kind of 2 wide, now 3 and 4 wide.
Casey Kane lost the track in the race, got lapped, and got a pit road speeding penalty on his last pit stop. Now he's gone another lap down. Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch, now the top 2, Jamie.
And Kyle Busch keeping his eye on the rearview mirror of the 2-car. Remember, they have history together, and it goes back as recently as 2 weeks ago in the Nationwide race. This is Kyle's radio.
You can rewind. You can remind Tweedledum that if he wrecks me here, it's everybody else, and he's going to have a whole garage full of people on him.
Yeah, I see what he was trying to do there. It wasn't that. Just keep rolling on. I'll talk to him.
Well, perhaps he's just trying to get in Kyle's head, but Kyle remembers last year there were moments during the chase he feels he could have wrecked Brad, but he didn't. He expects Brad to race him the same now.
Going back a few weeks to the beginning or the escalation of a little bit of a feud between Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski.
Well, Brad Keselowski's not going to wreck Kyle Busch here. He knows how dangerous that would be and put a lot of people in harm's way there. What he might not do, and what Kyle can probably expect, is not to get much help at critical times from the 2 car. Right there, he didn't need any help to take the lead.
What a drive back. Involved in a brutal crash at the finish of yesterday's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race here. Took a vicious couple of shots in the car today. You've heard already the description of the rally that Kyle and this team have made to come back from way back in the pack. Now to be up leading this race.
Shows how mentally tough these drivers are. Put something that happened less than 24 hours ago out of your mind, basically, to drive your way back up through this, knowing that at any minute something like that could happen again. But you also applaud NASCAR for the safety of the cars and trucks these drivers are able to race here, and you can withstand that and come back and have a fun day.
I don't know, most of us can understand that, having been in a racing accident like that, just how physically beaten up you are as you watch the lead change hands. 3 wide there. Dale Jr. with the outside move as we look down from our aerial coverage. Today provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Jr. out in front.
Whoa, that was close.
It's still happening. A while to settle down.
All clear for the moment at Talladega. NASCAR Nonstop presented by Nationwide Insurance. Hold your breath moments as we get to the late laps here at Talladega Superspeedway. And remind you to visit every2minutes.com to get information on how to win an Xbox One. Auctions begin November 5th. Start banking codes now. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading this race. But he's got a lot of company and still a lot of laps left to go.
Jeff Gordon deciding it's time to go to the front.
Yeah, he got his wake-up call about 15 or 20 laps ago.
Jimmy Johnson changing lanes. Who goes with him? Well, he goes back to the outside.
Now, he didn't need anybody. Kurt Busch came along.
And Danica. Truex just isn't going to have the momentum to get up there.
But I see a lot of cars that are not that stable. We've seen a few times, Matt Kenseth's talking about how loose his car is, and I've seen a lot of other cars kind of wobbling going in the corner. And I think when this race comes down to the last few laps, we're going to see some ill-driving cars. Got to make something happen.
Yeah, and the handling's not going to get better because that's going to ramp up. Plus, on this last pit stop, if we continue green here, they're only going to put 2 tires on these things at the most. So, yeah, the handling's not going to get better.
Championship leader Matt Kenseth has spent most of this day up front contending for the lead. Now he finds himself at the end of this pack. He's in 28th place and has been complaining about the handling of his car from 2 pit stops ago right through now. The latest on Kenseth from Dave.
And Alan, it's not that he can't hang with this pack, but he doesn't have the confidence and the stability that he has to either keep guys behind him, take a push from another car. It's just not there for him. So they definitely have to change some things, and wanted to verify for you that the right sides that came off that car, there were no issues with them. So Jason Ratcliffe now has a decision. Do I put 4 on him? Do I try to put on 2 and see if I can adjust the car? I think he's got to have 4 tires and adjust that loose out of the car, guys.
Yeah, he's in a pretty tight spot because they're only going to need about a half a tank of fuel. And anything they do more than 2 tires is going to cost them a lot of track time.
And don't you think that part of that decision will be influeed by whether it comes under green or yellow?
Yeah, if it comes under yellow,
absolutely. Yeah, you can do that if it comes under yellow. Under green, he's going to have to get 2 tires and make some kind of major adjustment to that car.
So Kenseth running 25th now. Jimmy Johnson running 4th.
One thing they could do is change the left side tires too, because it seems like the right side didn't fix it before. I think maybe get the lefts off.
Change just the lefts?
Yeah, if you're going to get 2 tires.
Yeah, I'd be making, I'm not sure how much wedge effect they do mess with the wedge here, but I think that track bar would make a huge difference on these cars.
Yeah, the track bar is a good adjustment anywhere, but especially here.
Pit stops, should they happen, and we stay on the green, are going to happen with about 26 laps to go in this race.
And see the car starting to string out single file, and I think it's just like what I was saying. I think a lot of cars not driving that great right now, and everybody needs a little breathing room.
We see this pretty much before every green flag stop. They race. The handling starts going away. You have to get single file. It goes up next to the wall is where that single file racing takes place, and these guys get their breath.
Yeah, that's
the last time they're going to breathe.
That's what I was thinking. They know what's coming up.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just taking a breath.
28 cars in this lead draft, plus a couple that are not on the lead lap, like Casey Kane in the 5 and Brad Keselowski in the 2. At the start of this race, DJ, you talked from your experience about how this is a gut-wrenching 500 miles. Now you're 400 and some miles into it, and you know the hardest miles are still yet to come. What are there things you're doing inside the car, or things you're thinking about to try and give yourself that break, or is it just, gut it out?
You're kind of glad that this situation right here is happening, where you can take a little bit of a breather. The racing right now isn't nearly as intense, even though you still have to do your job. But yeah, you know what's getting ready to come. You know once you go to pit road, and when you come back out, it's the hardest racing you've done all day. You just thought this was going before was difficult, but you have to be ready for that and mentally ready and have your car to where every lap you're getting the most that you can get from it. And it's tough. That's what you live for, to get to those last 10 laps of this race, to see what you can do. You're glad when it's over. But you also know that the most dangerous part of the race, absolutely, for the big wreck, is yet to come in those final laps. We'll come back for the frantic finish, those last pit stops, and we'll see what happens. The leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., comes to the pit lane under green, Dave.
Can his 9-year drought end today at Talladega? He'll take right side tires, he'll take fuel, that'll be it for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Little cleaning up the grill, and now he's out of here.
A tough angle for the 48. He had to come around the 36 that was pitted in the box just behind him. It's a 2-tire change, chassis adjustment, and fuel for Jimmy Johnson.
Danica Patrick tried to get to the pit lane with these leaders, never even came close to getting slowed down to pit road speeds, and she'll be coming back for a speeding penalty. And I don't believe she even stopped in her box for the pit service either. So a double whammy coming up there for Patrick. Wave number 2. Little right rear damage there on Ricky Stenhouse's car, Vince.
Yeah, Stenhouse says he feels like he's got a low amount of grip. He says he feels like he can handle it. You see the chassis adjustment, right side tires only, and fuel. It's been a good run so far for Stenhouse today.
Leaves pit road with Ryan Newman trailing behind him to try and get back into the draft. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, and more, including Matt Kenseth. Dave?
The decision's been made, Alan. It'll be 2 right side tires for Matt Kenseth. It'll be a wedge adjustment to that race car as well. Tires smoking as they come off here. Can they make the adjustments to give him the car that can race to the end, Doc?
Kurt Busch wanted to pit with a 24 and 88, couldn't get down, had traffic between them. They went ahead and pitted a lap earlier. He tried to wait another lap, couldn't get on pit road. Now comes down. He said he'll have help from his brother in the 18. Right side tires away, final stop for the 78.
You saw the little trouble they had on that right rear for Kurt, but he should be able to tag on to the end of this group. Unfortunately, he won't be at the front of this group.
Yeah, that's a strange looking pit stop.
Yeah, I didn't understand that at all.
It was slow.
Kevin Harvick in.
Gil Martin calling the shots on the radio, saying right sides only, don't slide your tires. If you do, let us know. Just cracking the top 10 for the first time today. We're about to see what this 29 can do.
That's pretty much going to do it for the cycle of green flag pit stops. Mentioned Danica had trouble trying to get to the pit lane. Jimmy Johnson having to take some less than ideal maneuvers on the pit lane.
He had to dodge quite a few cars just to make it to his stall, including the car right behind him.
So here's the lead pack reforming. Kyle Busch will be the leader of this race as he crosses the start-finish line right here. Got a snarling pack of hungry drivers and machines trying to close in and reform to make a run at him.
Yeah, now things ramp up. These drivers know that it's on until the end here. They don't have to come back to pit road. There'll be a lot more taken, less giving as they get ready to try to position themselves to win.
Double wide lap cars there. That could get dicey here in a second as the leaders come up on them. So Jimmy Johnson is 7th, Matt Kenseth is 10th, Dale Jr. is back in 12th. The three drivers that have done nearly all the leading through the course of this race today. At the moment, literally a draw, though changing by the second where the championship is concerned. And as we've talked about from the very start of our telecast today, subject to change an awful lot of these closing laps. The tension builds. The checkered flag gets closer at Talladega. $50 miles to go. 24 cars on the lead lap in this pack. 27 overall on the lead lap. And Carl Edwards has decided it's time to get to the front after employing that ride around in the back strategy most all race.
And the other thing, and I'm not sure why we do it as drivers, but it seems like when you get inside of that 20 lap mark that you all of a sudden decide that it's okay to start pushing a little harder, doing a few more things at 200 miles per hour that weren't okay earlier. And that's why we're going to find something. It's going to happen here. They can't help but somebody make a slight mistake, slight miscalculation here and create a big incident.
Matt Kenseth made room under Jeff Gordon in turn 2. Gordon trying to rally back in the center lane. Jamie McMurray on the top side of the 1. Kyle Busch to block.
Yeah, Kenseth looked like he has his car now. I saw him make a wedge and a track bar adjustment on that car in that 2-tire pit stop on the green. It's like he can drive it, be aggressive with what he wants to do now.
Whoa, Dale Jr. with a big bobble in the tri-oval.
Now, we haven't seen a lot of the side drafting take place that we talk about and see in the year. This is where that starts coming into play, and that's what gets these cars in bad situations, extremely loose situations.
This is as tight as we've seen this pack the whole race right now. All of these cars are right up on each other. Like you said, they're not giving each other room that they gave them earlier in the race.
You're looking at the race for the lead at Talladega. In the Camping World RV Sales 500, the wild card race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, NASCAR's biggest, fastest, baddest track. And now the most intense part of the day still to come. All these cars in the hunt for the win, jockeying for position in the draft. One wrong move can set the big wreck off. Carl Edwards, 99. Kyle Busch, 18. The two side-by-side for the lead.
You see how close Gordon and Kenseth were right there. You didn't see that earlier. They were giving each other more room than that. Not happening now.
McMurray in the one would have gotten that one if it was the last lap by about a half a hood. Pushed by Stenhouse with Dale Jr. behind him. Center lane, Kyle Busch 18, Jeff Gordon 24, Casey Mears 13. Edwards looking for a little help in the bottom lane.
Get Stenhouse and McMurray shoot out of that pack. Up in the mix of this all day long, does a great job at these restrictor plate tracks, getting himself positioned. Austin Dillon once again in the mix.
Talked about earlier, if you weren't with us, the great equalizer that the draft is and the restricted engine package and the layout of this Talladega track designed to be the biggest and fastest anywhere.
Yeah, we see 13 laps to go and you think, well, it's getting right down to it, but it's not. That's a lot of racing left still. Still a lot of time for guys that are at the back of this group to wind up at the front.
The numbers say the big one's still to come. Last year it happened in the very last corner of the race. Joplin, Missouri's Jamie McMurray out in front. Driver who's won the big races before, who's won here at Talladega before, but who's had what could best be described as a struggle of a season. '33 car. Landon Castle is the car off the pace to the inside. He's out of the way. We stay under green.
I saw Jimmy Johnson get a little shove there from Kurt Busch, but anything but stable coming off of turn 2.
Underdogs of note, J.J. Yaley, 36 car in this lead pack. David Reagan, winner here in May in that blue and yellow 34. One of the best in terms of having the knack for drafting. With the underdog Front Row Motorsports team, it's go time. He's starting to go to the front. '38 David Gilliland finished second here in May. '78 Kurt Busch. And '55 Michael Waltrip, who was at the very back of this line a little while ago. And the two-time Daytona 500 winner starting to show some muscle and work the draft to head toward the front.
You just see now it's intensifying even more with the side drafting in particular. You can see them getting closer. Earlier in the day, they were just doing regular drafting. Now they're starting to get into a little bit of a bump drafting situation. Makes these cars hard to drive, especially even on the straightaway. Makes it difficult.
Jeff Gordon was racing for the lead a few laps ago. Look at him on that red and yellow car on the inside, screen right. He's dropped all the way almost to the end of the draft.
Kevin Harvick had a problem, some kind of problem with his green flag pit stop, and I don't know how he got so far behind, but he was almost 5 seconds back. He caught this group now. He's got momentum. He's just starting to work on the back part of it.
Yeah, he's fortunate to have a couple of cars that helped him and kept him running fast enough. Now he got up here, and now his talent is taking over, understanding the draft, working his way forward.
That's what you said. You want to be going forward at the end of this thing. Looks like Harvick's going to be doing that.
Yeah, that's the way you make up spots. You might not get all the way to the front, but you're going to have a good point, solid day. And that's what Harvick is looking for here.
Big. Now inside 10 to go. I'm kind of surprised they're strung out like they are.
Yeah, it's going to be a matter of who gets that run and somebody to go with them. It's going to open up this second lane. Looks like it might be Jimmy Johnson back there starting to make a move.
Johnson has favored the bottom side of the racetrack about all day. He's the car that's down there now, but somebody's going to have to go with him to get to the front.
Well, it's probably not going to be Matt Kenseth, so you have to look for somebody else there.
I see Matt's car starting to wobble a little bit more.
Man, did you see that? How he drove that through the trial.
And there's Carl Edwards, who is racing Kyle Busch for the lead in this race. Now Carl back in 15th place. But as quickly as you can be shuffled back in a couple of laps, you might find yourself being shuffled toward the front as things break out here.
I think for Matt, his car was good when he had fresh tires. He was able to really be aggressive with it up front. But now, I think it's losing the handle again.
Yeah, just so interesting to look at this top 10 as it scrolls across the top there. Just look, as we show these, so many different drivers up there that we haven't seen up there all day.
Hey, watch for a group coming on the bottom, but it needs to be at least 5 cars. It's got to be making headway. Make sure you let me know beforehand so I can get down in there.
Giving instructions to his spotter on the roof that if he sees a group coming that's at least 5 cars, that he wants to jump down in front of him.
Yeah, you don't want to just jump down there with 1, even maybe 2 cars coming. That's not going to be enough to push you and get you going where you need to go. So Matt's waiting for that opportunity. He knows it's going to happen. He just hopes that it's sooner than later.
Have dominated the time out front in this race. As we take a look at our Dodge Durango race rundown, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Matt Kenseth have led 38, 47, and 32 laps respectively. Nobody else has led more than 9. If McMurray leads here, it'll be 10, the next highest total. A very clean race to this point. A lot of green flag running. 97 laps of consecutive green at the moment. Right now, just turned 98. But the final 6, we'll see.
Yeah, and in this scenario right here, I don't want to be the driver leading at the white flag. I don't think he's going to have a chance to win the race.
Kevin Harvick trying to make some moves. Will Johnson go with him?
Got to make something happen now.
Coming with you. It's coming with you.
Now they're getting lined up. This is what I expected to see a little bit. Thought they would try it a little bit sooner. But they still have plenty of time.
5 laps around a 2 2/3 mile track.
Now you see some of the guys starting to drop out of that outside lane down into the inside. That's what Matt was talking about. He wants to know if it's 5 cars or more, he wants to move down there too.
5 to go.
This on the inside is these guys in the front are going to start to shuffle here before long. Now, Dale Jr. would love to wait until they're coming off of turn 4 to make his move, knowing that someone would go with him. Don't know that they're going to be able to wait that long.
Perhaps in Junior's favor, the guy running right behind him, Austin Dillon in the 14, doesn't have a lot of experience in a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series car in these circumstances. He has some, but not a lot.
Yeah, but one thing we've seen, this racetrack has produced so many first-time winners. It might be his day. 10 of them.
Yeah, and what he doesn't have either is anything to lose.
Yep. Stenhouse and Menard and J.J. Yaley. Chad Nix in the 36 car, but he is a lap down in 28th place.
And you still got David Reagan and David Gilligan, who teamed up as teammates to run 1-2 here earlier this year.
There they are running 7th and 8th.
Go green, I got a plan, we'll see what we're at. Copy. I'll let you know what you got back there.
That was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s radio.
And Junior's liking what he's seeing. He's not seeing anybody coming very fast up through there, down on the inside. This is working to perfection for him to be in the situation to make his move.
Jimmy Johnson, 21st in line. Has led the most laps today.
There's the main thing that Jimmy's concerned about is finishing ahead of that 20 car who is right there. This isn't the day he was wanting. He led a lot of laps. The main thing is to be around or ahead of that 20. But Jimmy's not going to be able just to get in that outside line and sit. He's going to have to if he's wanting to work his way back, time's running out now. 3 laps to go.
Coming for 2 to go.
And make it 2, yeah. 27 cars on the lead lap. White flag will wave next time they come around. Dale Jr.'s radio a minute ago said he had a plan.
I think it's going to involve Austin Dillon in that 14.
The problem with having a plan, everybody else has got one for themselves too. They might not always work together so well. Well, here it comes. White flag will be in the air the last lap. Where does the move come? Who wins the race? Do they all come back to the checkered flag? Rolling.
Single file, no takers yet, single file.
Jamie McMurray leading. Here's the first move. Oh, trouble. Dillon gets turned around into the middle of the pack. Casey Mears is the one that hit him. Caution is out. Race is over.
All good, guys. All good.
Jamie McMurray, carrying the colors of Auburn University, his sponsor with a big relationship with the school, is going to take War Eagle to the finish line first. Jamie McMurray wins at Talladega.
And that's the chance that you take as a driver waiting to that last lap to try to make your move because you know everything's going to ramp up. It looks like there was some contact between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the 14. Casey Mears, a lot of damage there. Nowhere to go.
Just dropped the window net on his car. His signal to the safety officials that he's okay.
Tremendous hit there. Casey
Please, Victor Lee, my friend. Can't wait. I cannot wait.
It's been a long dry spell for Jamie. October 2010 was his last win.
He did a great job of getting himself positioned there in the last. Getting himself in the front, making them try to pass him.
Here's Stenhouse. You can see right there. He's already making contact with Dillon's bumper.
Wow, like Dillon might have just turned around. Yeah, it might have just been there. Wow, what contact that was. It's just been the air coming across the back that got him loose.
All right, replays are up on the screen around the track. On the screen there, you saw. Got it.
Coming. We have the white.
Jamie McMurray, such a likable guy. That big smile on his face, even in tough times. And now the 37-year-old is going to go to victory lane at Talladega for the second time after making all the moves on the chessboard at 200 miles an hour just right.
Yeah, he sure did that. Just methodically worked his way up there after that last pit stop. Got himself in the position, and that's what you do. He's one of the best at it.
I think that plan that Dale Earnhardt Jr. had was foiled by that caution.
Absolutely.
So the last lap crash happened. Somehow it only involved a couple of cars. Austin Dillon drove away. We saw Casey Mears drop the window net on his car. Jamie McMurray will go to victory lane. Well, you can run 500 miles at Talladega and work your way to the front on the outside of a three-wide pack, three-wide race for the win at the end, and hold off a steaming pack of cars to what was the eventual finish of the race. You deserve to be our Goodyear Superior performer. Jamie McMurray is so today. The Missouri native scoring his second win at Talladega and his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup Series victory overall. McMurray is in victory lane at Talladega.
He pulled in and they handed him a telephone. His car owner or co-owner Chip Ganassi out in California celebrating an IndyCar championship with Scott Dixon, and Chip was screaming on the phone. I could hear him from here. Hey, my friend, congratulations. What a finish. First of all, take us through your day and where you came from in the final 35 laps.
Well, I knew that our Cessna Chevy was good in practice, and I just could never really get in the right line, but really at the plate tracks, to get in the right line, it requires a lot of risk. And I felt like I was pretty patient all day, and I saw the 17, the 88 coming on the top, and it just seemed like the top was a better place to get hung out than if you got hung out on the bottom. And fortunately, I was able to get myself in position. I don't know how the last lap would have played out. I could see the 88 kind of trying to set me up and figure out where he could get a run on me. But when I saw the caution come out behind me, it honestly, I want to end at a green, but at the same time, like, throw a caution, and I'm okay with it right now. Really cool, though, for Cessna. We got University of Auburn on the hood of our car, McDonald's. It's been our cars have been so much better this year. We haven't been able to get to victory lane. Chip won the IndyCar championship yesterday, so it's been a good day. But for me, quite honestly, the best part of this is that come here.
Oh, look at this.
It's pretty awesome. It's I told Christy before, I'm like, gosh, it'd be so cool to get to have your kids in victory lane. So pretty awesome.
A lot of emotion. Take us through now. We heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. say that he had a plan, and the 14 was probably going to go with him. If it had come down to the final lap, how do you hold off an Earnhardt Jr. and others?
Well, I don't know. And the thing about the package we have right now, if you can get the third car in line to push the guy in second, it's hard to defend. You're just going to try to make your car as wide as you can. And quite honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'm playing through that with 10 laps to go, I'm like, I don't know if it's a reality yet. It's going to be close. And with 5, I could tell he was being patient. And then when they could never get the bottom line to form, I'm like, it's going to come down to the first 3 or 4 cars. And, it's unfortunate that the caution came out. But for me, I don't know how I was going to defend that. I was going to play it by ear.
Hey, go celebrate with your family. That's what it's all about.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Jamie McMurray, folks, half of his career wins have come on restrictor plate tracks, and look at this. It just doesn't get any better now. Oh, here comes the kiss for Dad in victory lane. That's what he wanted, to celebrate as a family in victory lane today at Talladega.
terrific scene. Well, when the caution comes out on that last lap, NASCAR goes back and reviews the video. At the instant the caution comes out, the field is frozen, and how they were running at that moment. The results are as follows from today's 500-miler. Jamie McMurray, your winner.
Yeah, a lot of great racing up through there. And,
David Ragan backs his win up with a top 10 finish in 6th. And Gilliland right behind him again.
There are your top 10 unofficially. Jimmy Johnson finishing in 13th position and Matt Kenseth in 20th. More championship talk coming up. Jamie McMurray with a family celebration. Beginning to sort out the aftermath of today's 500-miler at Talladega Superspeedway. Our telecast today presented by 5 Hour Energy. A relatively clean race. A race that didn't really have the big one. A couple of car crashes. And a race that had 52 lead changes among 20 different drivers. The guys that led the most today, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Matt Kenseth. 2 of the top 3 in the championship in there are the top 2 in the championship in the top 3 most laps led. Hang with me for a second. And basically, Matt Kenseth's 4-point lead is erased, and Jimmy Johnson goes to a 4-point lead, with Matt finishing today unofficially in 20th place and Jimmy finishing in 13th. Downstairs to Dave.
Second place for Dale Jr. today at Talladega, again at a restrictor plate race. Man, did you have that strategy ready if the yellow hadn't come out?
Well, we were kind of forming our run around the middle of 1 and 2, and I think we had a really good head of steam coming off of turn 2, and they got together behind us, and that was that. But I was going to try something down the back straightaway, but we just never got the chance, and we didn't. We finished second to a pretty good race car driver at these plate tracks. Jamie, he wins a lot of races here and at Daytona, and always runs well. And he's got Hendrick power, so hard to outrun that. But we're real pleased with how our car did today. Diet Mountain Dew, Xbox One, Chevrolet was real competitive all day. Ran up front, could pass, had fun trying to take the lead and lead some laps, and definitely felt like we improved on what we were doing here in the past. So excited about coming back.
Positive today, but just not victory lane for Junior.
Jimmy Johnson finishes 13th today at Talladega and is your new points leader in the chase for the Sprint Cup. We talked before the race today, and you said you wanted to be at the front with a couple to go, and you were stuck back in about 15th. What happened?
Yeah, that outside lane got going, and everybody jumped up in it. And you just don't know if people are going to chase the bottom or the top. When I saw the one car had the lead, then you figure with the 1 of the 88, they'd probably take the top and run up there. And as that developed, I was on the bottom lane. I worked my way to the middle lane and was able to maintain for a while. And then everybody went single file to the top, and I dropped like a rock. So that wasn't a comfortable feeling. Not the position I wanted to be in late in the race, but we rallied back, got a few more spots. Most importantly, got back in front of the 20 and missed the wreck on the backstretch.
You led the most laps, and you take over the points lead. And you survived Talladega, the big objective today. How about looking forward and what this does for you in regards to springboarding toward another championship?
You know, I feel that the race is forward now. It's up to the competitors to go earn it. You don't have this big luck issue that can take place at the plate track. So, I'm happy to have the points lead. Very, it took a lot of work to get there. I mean, we're just getting 1 point at a time. Today we got a few more than normal, and we're able to get the lead. But we just go racing from here. That's the thing that I'm most excited for. Great race tracks, great race cars, and it's just going to be a dogfight at the end. Go racing.
It is indeed a lot of racing left, but Jimmy Johnson is your points leader.
Matt Kenseth unofficially 20th today. Matt, any idea what flipped the switch on what appeared to be a very good race car early on?
No, I haven't seen Jason yet, but yeah, it was really bizarre. Typically handling is a non-issue here, and we just got so loose I couldn't even hang on to it, so I pretty much had to run in the back for 2 runs, which was disappointing, and we finally got it fixed that last run, but we only had 20 laps to get back up there, and I really needed to be up there like we were early and kind of feeling like I was controlling the race more and controlling the lanes and the runs and all that, and I could never get back to there.
Today you lose a championship lead for the first time in the chase, Matt. Describe how that affects your team going forward.
Well, I don't think it'll affect my team. I think I got one of the greatest teams out here, obviously, and I feel like we can go everywhere else, and honestly feel like we can race with anybody when we're at our best. So hopefully we'll be at our best the next 4 weeks, and we'll give them a run for their money. So it was just incredibly disappointing day. The end there, I just still can't for the life of me figure out. I need to watch it, from 3rd on back to 14th. I think everybody was running half throttle, and me, Joey, and Carl, and I thought Greg was going to go with us too, and then they must have decided not to.
And a couple other guys tried to make it happen, and I figured 2 or 3 more would bail on the bottom, and we'd mix it up, and somebody would go up and try to beat the leader, but nobody wanted to go. Everybody just wanted to stay in their spot. So I should have been smarter there, and just, I guess, paid attention to points, but I'm just not really wired like that. I want to go up and mix it up and try to win the thing.
Talladega, this race will be a study for Matt and all the other drivers to see what all went on out there today. AB?
Dave, thanks. Both Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth now looking ahead to the final 4 races of the season. From Talladega to Martinsville. What a contrast.
Yeah, it really is. But a big wild card again next week at that short track.
The half-mile bull ring, final short track race of the season. That's next Sunday. Texas, Phoenix, Homestead, Miami. Join us at the track.
Chase race number 6, what we expected to be a wild, crazy, mean day to some of the points leaders, didn't quite pan out. Instead, for the second week in a row, it is a non-Chase driver in victory lane. It was Jamie McMurray celebrating his first win of the season. 7 career wins for McMurray, 4 on the plate tracks, 2 of them right here at Talladega, and both of them in similar fashion, pulling away as the wreck is happening behind.
Yeah, and I say this is no fluke either. Jamie McMurray is a really good plate racer. He runs strong in these speedways. Yeah. I'm really happy for him. He's got Hendrick power, like he said. So he had the car, he had the motor, he had the talent, and he had the luck today. And yeah, you're right. It was exactly the same scenario it was a couple years ago. But boy, congratulations to McMurray and that whole team.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of running mid-pack all day, and during the last run there, he put himself in good position. And you did notice, Jamie, and you thought he was going to get a decent finish today, but he just got himself out front. And that second line on the bottom never developed, and because it didn't, it kept him out front. It was going to be a shootout at best between he, Earnhardt, and Dillon, but lo and behold.
What now appears to be a shootout is the championship with only 4 races to go. The points lead is still the same. It's still 4 between number 1 and number 2. It's just that Jimmy Johnson is now number 1 and Matt Kenseth is number 2. And here we are going in to Martinsville, one of Johnson's best tracks. He has 8 wins there. Kenseth only has 8 top 10s there.
Yeah, I guess that says that Matt Kenseth's going to have to step it up at Martinsville next week. The other thing you can close up, you got to remember that Gordon and Harvick run really good there as well, and Kyle Busch has struggled there. So not just the lead of the chase, but closing up, 3rd, 4th, and 5th could happen easily in Martinsville.
I'll tell you what, you talking about Kyle Busch, obviously we were talking earlier about him. Big gainer today. He picked up 2 positions, Kyle Busch did, gained 11 points. So it's a big day for him. Right now, 26 points out, so really good day for him today.
Yeah, and looking at this thing, shaking out like we kind of thought it would. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson going to go toe-to-toe at Martinsville. But once again, it's a racetrack, and it's a short track, and anything can happen. We could see some significant changes at Martinsville. The ones we thought were going to happen today didn't quite happen, but they could happen next week.
It was a dogfight just to get into the chase. Of course it would be a dogfight to get to the championship. And next up, from the biggest track to the smallest track, it's Martin.
Things are about to get sloppy in victory lane. Jamie McMurray and company in a well-deserved celebration after a hard-fought 500-mile win today at the world's fastest speedway. The race ending under caution on the white flag lap when there was trouble off of turn number 2. 3rd place running Austin Dillon in the 14.
Yeah, you can see, from first looking at it whenever it was happening live, it certainly looked like that Ricky Stenhouse had gotten into the 14, but I believe just moving across his rear bumper got Austin Dillon very loose. You could see the back end of the car starting to step out, and then that's whenever a little bit of contact was created there.
And that's all it took, is a little bit.
Yes.
To cause a big problem.
Then a major impact after, looked like it was going to be even bigger than this, but Casey Mears was nowhere to go as Austin Dillon went back across the track.
Jamie has caught up with Austin Dillon.
Well, first Sprint Cup Series race at Talladega for Austin Dillon. What a day you had. You were running 3rd on the final lap. And then what happened? Because from our angles, it is hard to tell if you guys actually touched.
Yeah, we had a really fast car. Bass Pro Shop Chevy was, Mobil 1 Chevy was really good. And got to thank Tony Stewart and everybody at Stewart Haas for giving me this opportunity. It was so much fun. And I just was trying to help the 88 right there at the end. And they had a run to 17, so I went low. And then when I was coming back up, he just hooked me. When it hooked us, it was just over there. But wild ride. I got to thank NASCAR for everything they've done for safety. That hit's fine. I was good. I got to drive the car back. And, it's a lot of fun when you got good safety equipment. You can go after it like that. It was fun, though.
You're leading the Nationwide Series points. That'll resume in 2 weeks. How good is it for you just to be in a car and get this racing experience in the downtime?
Well, it's really good, and the 14 guys told me to bring back the steering wheel or the trophy, so we brought back the steering wheel. We were close to the trophy, but that was fun, and yeah, it's good. The Nationwide team has done a great job this year. Hopefully we can finish off the year with a championship, and this was a lot of fun. Like I said, I got to thank Tony Stewart and all the guys at Stewart Haas, Johnny Morris. He's done a lot for my career.
The wheel and 4 tires. Way to go for Austin Dillon.
Big finish for Kyle Busch comes from a lap down today to finish 5th here at Talladega and take over 3rd place in the point standings. What's going through your mind there in those final laps when you know it's going to happen and you're hoping to bring it home in one piece?
I was just trying to figure out when to make the move. Obviously a lot of guys around us or way behind us were making those moves and trying to get to the bottom and make the bottom go, and nothing was going anywhere, so it didn't make any sense to jump down there too early yourself and get shuffled to the back. But there was definitely going to be, you were going to have to do it at some point or another, whether it was off of 4 through the trial or something, just to try to get up a couple spots. But depending on when your momentum took over and when your run was, and if the guys in front of you were going to check up, you just got to go with it. But M&M's car ran great all day. I appreciate the guys, everybody from TRD, Toyota, Monster Energy. And, it's fun to finish one of these things. It's certainly, God's grace that allows us to finish one of these, and we appreciate it today, especially coming on with another top 5.
Obviously, you had a very fast race car coming from a lap down. What happened on the pit confusion that ended up putting you behind a lap?
Yeah, I didn't want to come that time because I knew there was going to be congestion coming to pit road, but they didn't care. They said come this time. And so when I came down pit road, instead of running in the back of the one because he was slowing down way better than I was, I just stayed outside of him trying to not kill the nose of my car. And when I did, we got to pit road side by side, which we're not supposed to do, but our stall is so early on pit road that there was no opportunity for me to get checked up and get down and get into my stall in time. So it just kind of hurt us there a little bit. But, we came back from it. I think that's 3 years in a row or something I've done that here. So we'll just see if we can't go fight it out here in the last 4 races.
Strong rally indeed for Kyle Busch. 5th today, now 3rd in points.
And as we get ready to drive away from the world's fastest speedway and head to the shortest track on the NASCAR Sprint Cup circuit, thoughts on these 500 miles we just saw?
Well, it was an entertaining race throughout the day, and I think we all thought that they might start making their moves a little bit sooner than that, but they just couldn't get a group form to go up there. It's disappointing, I know, for a lot of fans that happens like that, but there's nothing you can do. But a great race overall. Thought the points might shuffle up a little bit more, but we still have a good battle.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird race. We saw some of the hardest racing of the day in the middle of the race. I expected to see it really get crazy at the end, but that bottom lane just evaporated in those last 10 or 15 laps, and nobody could make a run.
So stories we started the day thinking about the championship. Would it spread apart or close back together? Well, neither. Basically, the top 2 have still maintained some separation from the rest of the pack. No big wreck today. Tremendous action at the top of the standings. 52 different lead changes out in front. And the end result, not a surprise winner. Jamie McMurray, who's proven himself to be very good on these restrictor plate tracks and obviously won some big races in his career, goes to the winner's circle at the end of the day today here in Talladega. So next week, it's from the biggest track to the smallest track and pushing and shoving at Martinsville.
Well, there'll be plenty of action there, and I think we still have 5 guys in the battle for the championship.
Yeah, you might see some tempers flaring there too. Can't wait for that short track.
1 Eastern next Sunday on ESPN. Sports Center coming up next with more post-race coverage from here in Talladega. Jamie McMurray, the winner at the world's fastest speedway.